Court over illegal mining. Meanwhile, opposition New Patriotic Party NPP describes the sentence as a travesty of justice as party declares Wontumi a political prisoner. And much later on the program, latest national and sub-national HIV estimate released by Ghana AIDS Commission shows new HIV infections declined from over 15,000 in 2024 to 13,951 in 2025. My name is Beatrice Edu. Thank you very much for joining us on the program this morning. Now, lawyers of convicted NPP Ashanti Regional Chairman Bernard Enchibu-Esiako, also known as Chairman Wontumi, say that they will appeal the 20-year sentence imposed on their client. Earlier, the High Court of Accra convicted Chairman Wontumi and his company Akonta Mining of 6 counts of illegal mining-related offences. Lord Eduasare is our Court Affairs correspondent. He brought us this report earlier.
Chairman Wontumi has been found guilty of facilitating an illegal mining operation on his Samraboy concession in the Western region. Wontumi, one Kwame Entry currently at large, and Akonta Mining Company Limited were charged with 6 counts of assignment of mineral rights without approval and purposely facilitating illegal mining operations. He pleaded not guilty when he was arraigned before the High Court in October 2025. The prosecution, led by Deputy Attorney General Dr. Justice Sremsai, closed its case after calling 4 witnesses, and the former Ashanti Regional Chairman relied on the testimonies of 4 defense witnesses. The court then set judgment for July 3. The court adjourned the date after Wontumi changed lawyers and the new counsel prayed for a deferment to file their written submissions. In court on Monday, July 20, Wontumi's lawyers again sought a deferment of the judgment after disclosing that they had filed an application to refer the case to the Supreme Court for constitutional interpretation of portions of the charges. Samuel Atachia, in a letter to the High Court, noted that he was out of the jurisdiction and wanted the case deferred. In her ruling, however, the presiding judge, Audrey Kokuvute, indicated that the lead counsel ought to have come much earlier and not have inconvenienced the court. She also dismissed the application to refer the case to the Apex Court as lacking merit. Chairman Wontumi was convicted on counts 1 and 4, while Akonta Mining Limited was convicted on counts 3 and 6 after Justice Kokuvite noted that the prosecution had proven all the essential elements of the offences beyond reasonable doubt. The court sentenced Wontumi to 20 years in hard labour on the charge of assignment of mineral rights without approval and another 20 years for facilitating illegal mining operation. Both sentences are to run concurrently. He was also fined 120,000 cedis each for both counts. Akonta Mining Company Limited was given a fine of 15,000 penalty units, equivalent to 180,000 cedis. Additionally, the court ordered the confiscated items from the mining concession to be sold by the Lands Minister. A lawyer for Wontumi expressed disappointment at the court's decision.
Extremely disappointed in the outcome, in as much as we respect the decision of the court. We have our resentment to the outcome of the trial so far. In normal circumstances, one would have thought that at least once a person is charged with assignment of mineral right without authorization, it was right that the Lands Act clearly defines what assignment is. And assignment is by way of a written instrument. And if there was none throughout the trial, and that a person could be convicted and sentenced on same, then it's really a worrying trend.
So he gave me even instructions that if it should happen this way, go on an appeal on my behalf. But it was people who told me that the candidate come and see his position also, and see how we proceed going forward together. And we have to fight this decision on appeal.
Chairman Wontumi has 2 other pending cases at the High Court. One involves alleged fraudulent charges in an Exim Bank loan deal and allegedly engaging in illegal mining in the Tano Nimiri Forest Reserve. Lord Eduasare, TV3 News, Accra.
Meanwhile, the opposition New Patriotic Party has rejected the conviction and sentencing of its Ashanti Regional Chairman, describing it as a travesty of justice. The party at a press conference said that its legal team has already begun processes to appeal the 20-year sentence.
Bernard Enchibuesiakon, also known as Chairman Wontumi, the Ashanti Regional Chairman of the New Patriotic Party, was this morning handed a 20-year prison sentence after the Accra High Court convicted him of offences related to illegal mining. The New Patriotic Party, at a press conference, says they reject the ruling and has described it as a travesty of justice because he was not convicted with enough evidence.
It was never disputed that Chairman Wontumi lawfully acquired his mineral concession. It was never disputed that he lawfully acquired his mineral concession. That fact was established and accepted before the court. The central question was whether that concession had been assigned or transferred in violation of the law. It is our respected view that no evidence was adduced before the court establishing any such assignment or transfer of mineral rights by Chairman Wontumi. The prosecution could not produce any evidence to show that Wontumi had assigned his mineral right. Instead, the conviction rested on assumptions and inferences which, in our view, could not amount to proof beyond reasonable doubt. That is why we firmly believe that his conviction is a travesty of justice and has to be overturned on appeal.
The New Patriotic Party has questioned President Mohammed's commitment to fighting illegal mining because they say he has paid deaf ears to petitions brought to him against people in his government alleged to be involved in illegal mining.
The president himself has acknowledged that persons in his administration are involved in Galamsey. What concrete action has followed those admissions? Who are those members of the president's party that are engaged in Galamsey of which the president knows of? What has become of the petition submitted to Economic and Organized Crime Office, IOCO, seeking an investigation into allegations concerning Mr. Joseph Yamin, the NDC national organizer, and Abanga Yakubu, vice chairman of the NDC? What has happened to Honorable Mohamed Yakubu, NDC MP for Ahafo North South? What happened to the NDC MP for Aworin, Honorable Oscar Ofori Labi, who was accused by the chiefs and the people of Aworin, as well as Ghana's coalition against Galamsey, for engaging in Galamsey?
The New Patriotic Party describes Chairman Wontumi as a prisoner of politics and says its legal team has begun processes to appeal the sentencing.
While we respect the authority of our courts, respect for the judiciary does not require silence in the face of a judgment that is fundamentally flawed. Our Constitution guarantees every citizen the right to disagree with judicial decisions and to seek redress through the appellate process. That is precisely what we intend to do as a political party. Our legal team has already commenced the necessary steps to challenge his judgment through the appellate process. The NPP considers Wontumi a political prisoner.
The New Patriotic Party says it will not relent in ensuring the revocation of this sentence. Grace Hamuajiman, TV3 News, NPP headquarters, Accra.
And we stay a bit longer on illegal mining because the coalition against Galamsey Ghana has challenged key claims made by the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources in the Government Accountability Series report, insisting that illegal mining remains widespread despite ongoing interventions. At a news conference in Accra, the coalition said while the government has made some progress, enforcement remains weak and selective.
The coalition against Galamsey Ghana first welcomed government's decision to revoke Executive Instrument 144 as amended by EI 234, which affected portions of the Achimota forest, describing it as a major victory for environmental protection. The coalition also commended efforts by the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources and the Forestry Commission to reclaim forest reserves from illegal miners. However, convener of the coalition, Engineer Ken Ashigbe, says clearing illegal mining hotspots is not enough as many forest reserves remain under serious threat.
The Eastern region, in the very shadow of the seat of government, continues to exhibit escalating lawlessness with no dedicated action to stop it. From Apedra Junction through to Enyinem Osino, the evidence of impunity is there for all to see. The recent clash between illegal miners and the NIMOS team at Chebi only confirms our concerns. Farmers, landowners along the Brim, Dainsu, Ayensu are left at the mercy of the destructive and intimidating activities of illegal miners. Why is government treating this particular region with kid gloves?
The coalition rejected the minister's assertion that the era of impunity in the fight against Galamsey is over. It cited continued illegal mining activities in parts of the Eastern, Ashanti and Bono regions, accusing authorities of selective enforcement, and called for the arrest and prosecution of all persons involved, regardless of political affiliation. The group also questioned allegations of misconduct within the National Anti-Illegal Mining Operations Secretariat, NIMOS, including claims that seized equipment is returned to illegal miners after unofficial payments.
We have received reports from mining communities alleging a selective enforcement approach by some NIMOS staff. Far more troubling is the allegation that confiscated equipment is being returned to miners upon payment of a fee. If this is true, it is shameful. We call on NIMOS to come clean on these allegations without delay. Though the president had admitted that some of his party members are involved in the criminal act of Galamsey, there has been no prosecution of kingpins and politically exposed persons involved in Galamsey apart from Chairman Wuntumi.
The coalition further called for stronger action by the Ghana Police Service, saying the deployment of more than 2,000 Blue Water Guards would only succeed if law enforcement agencies respond swiftly to reports of illegal mining.
In other news, the latest national and sub-national HIV estimates released by the Ghana AIDS Commission show that new HIV infections declined from over 15,000 in 2024 to 13,951 in 2025, a reduction of more than 8%. Yet, behind the numbers are real people whose lives are changed by a diagnosis that still carries stigma, emotional distress, and financial hardship.
As Ghana works towards ending HIV/AIDS as a public health threat, the latest figures offer both hope and a reminder that the fight is not yet won. A slight decline in new HIV infections from 15,290 in 2024 to 13,951 in 2025. AIDS-related deaths and HIV prevalence have also continued to fall. Greater Accra continues to record the highest number of new infections with 3,141 cases, while Northeast region recorded the lowest at 108. Young people and adults remain the most affected, with those aged 15 years and above accounting for more than 91% of all new infections.
Though you see that new infections are coming down, HIV-related deaths are coming down, prevalence is coming down, but among the young people, they are still contributing to most of the new infections that we have. And so what it means is that if we are able to focus on them and then make progress in them, then we can see more decline. Again, we also need to focus on children. We see that children who are HIV positive are not covered enough in terms of ART coverage.
Despite the progress, a major gap remains. More than 100,000 people are estimated to be living with HIV without knowing their status or are yet to be linked to treatment.
The space for funds is changing, but
government is also coming through. We need to be able to optimize the resources we have currently, and we should be able to be mobilizing more domestic resources to enable us respond.
We are not just worried about the person who is infected. The person who is infected is the person who has the virus. We're also worried about the person who is affected. The person affected is the relatives and close relation with the person who has the virus. And so when the stigma comes to the infected, the affected is also stigmatized.
The Ghana AIDS Commission is urging Ghanaians to know their status, seek early treatment and reject stigma.
We need to sustain the momentum, and for us, we feel it's an opportunity for us to let Ghanaians get to know that there is a way that we can prevent ourselves from getting HIV. There's a way that we can live with HIV in a dignified way without having to die. There's a way that we can prevent mothers from transmitting HIV to their children. And therefore, it is not only the responsibility of the Ghana AIDS Commission, but it's a collective responsibility.
An estimated 334,721 people are currently living with HIV in Ghana. Of these, 227,593 know their HIV status. 156,821 are receiving life-saving antiretroviral treatment, and 140,357 have achieved viral suppression.
Some more here. President John Mahama has described the death of Yana Abukari II, overlord of the Dagban Kingdom, as a national loss. Speaking during the funeral announcement of the late Dagban overlord to the presidency by the Dagban Traditional Council, the president said that the late overlord was a champion of peace, reconciliation and unity.
And His Royal Majesty went beyond the positions we occupy. I've known him for many years, even at the time when he was UNA. And we worked together with him in my first presidency with the Otumfo team to resolve the Dagbon crisis at the time. And so we've remained like father and son, even through my years after I left office until I was elected back to this position. And so we come a very long way. The passing of the Yana is not only a moment of profound grief for Dagbon, but it is a national loss. Ghana has lost a statesman amongst traditional rulers, a man whose wisdom, moderation, and commitment to peace earned him the respect of people across political, ethnic, and religious divides. His Royal Majesty assumed the skin of Dagbon at a very difficult period in the kingdom's history. And yet, through patience, humility, and unwavering resolve, he transformed a kingdom once scarred by conflict into an enduring symbol of reconciliation, unity, and hope. His reign demonstrated that true leadership is measured not by power, but by the ability to heal divisions, unite people behind a common purpose. His philosophy was yet profound, and as he loved to say, I love those who build bridges of peace, but I do not like those who destroy the peace. These were not merely words, they became his guiding principle during his entire reign and an enduring lesson for all of us.
The Chief Executive Officer of the National Petroleum Authority, NPA, says the delivery of crude oil to local refineries could help cushion consumers from the impact of rising global crude oil prices. The comments followed the delivery of 1 million barrels of crude oil each to the Sentio Oil Refinery and the Tema Oil Refinery from Ghana's Jubilee oil field. And so here on News Morning, it's gone from a letter to a regional cause. Ghana's months-long push to get the African Union to confront xenophobic violence in South Africa has just received serious backing. The Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, at a meeting in Sierra Leone, declared full support for Ghana's petition to the African Union against xenophobia. Anita Agbuta has more in this explainer.
West Africa is closing ranks behind Ghana as the ECOWAS Authority of Heads of State and Government has fully endorsed Ghana's petition to place xenophobic attacks against African nationals in South Africa on the agenda of the next African Union Summit. Ghana's Foreign Minister Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa announced this from ministerial meetings in Freetown, Sierra Leone on social media. The push dates back to a letter Ablakwa sent to the African Union Commission on the 6th of May, describing the attacks as a matter of urgent continental interest. Part of the letter reads, "While South Africa retains sovereign responsibility for law and order within its borders, the targeting of African migrants strikes at the shared principles of Pan-Africanism and continental unity the AU itself claims to champion." He had asked for the issue to be tabled at the AU's 8th mid-year coordination meeting in Egypt and for a fact-finding mission into the violence. The meeting is scheduled for October 4th, 2026. Now, what has been the cost so far? Ghana has repatriated at least 600 of its nationals from South Africa. 900 more are expected to follow, and the next batch scheduled for July 25th, 2026. Nigeria has also pulled out roughly 1,490 of its citizens. These numbers do not only represent human lives, but also labor force and investment. President Mahama, addressing the 69th ECOWAS Summit, directly confronted the issue raised about the attacks that have already claimed Ghanaian and Nigerian lives.
Ghana is deeply concerned about the recent incidents of xenophobic attacks against our citizens in South Africa, during which some Africans, including Ghanaians and Nigerian citizens, have lost their lives, while many other African nationals have experienced fear, intimidation, and uncertainty. Ghana welcomes the decision of the Authority of Heads of State of ECOWAS to fully endorse and support Ghana's petition at the African Union for the matter to be addressed at the next AU mid-year summit. African liberation was achieved through solidarity across our borders. We must never permit that proud legacy to be weakened by intolerance by a small group of people.
The endorsement positions Ghana less as a lone petitioner and more as a continental convener on justice issues. What happens next? Well, the backing is a diplomatic muscle, not a verdict. The real test is whether the AU places the issue on its summit agenda and what the continental body is prepared to do about violence within a member state's own borders. Until then, Ghana is racing to get its own citizens out of harm's way. Anita Agbota, TV3 News.
And that's all for News Morning here on New Day on TV3. My name is Beatrice Sedu. Thank you very much for joining us on the program. Do continue with us on New Day.
Hello, my name is Pamela from Customer Service. Please revalidate your account by texting your Ghana card number to 0500,000 247.
Hey, Abili, wabedim.
meetings.
That's why it's the owner of government appointees.
Exactly.
So
please,
morning greetings.
You want to start this morning?
Yeah.
Dr.
Good morning to
Salifu
you,
Combat.
Managing Director of the Tema Oil Refinery. You know, the good thing is that they've received the first consignment of crude oil from the Jubilee field. So, Edmond Combat, you and your team, Alaji Mustafa, you're doing some great. Alaji Jibril as well of National Security.
Right.
Doing some great.
Right. Good morning
and,
to all of them.
when I was monitoring the judgment yesterday, we were here with lawyer Joseph Akable as well. Then I had some interaction with Pai Fianku of Engineers and Planners. Good morning to you as well. And so everything is well.
There was a lawyer on ground as well who kept updating you.
Yeah. 6'2".
You forgot him?
Yeah, 6'2" Don Ulo. He asked the question that the Deputy Attorney General
said he wants to stand.
Said he wants to stand well. Not knowing he was making entry into his car. So lawyer 6'2" Don Ulo.
All right.
And then of course we had Lord Edward Sare inside.
Yeah, yesterday
you used to say good morning to the former education minister.
Yeah, I still
was
do.
it only because because you haven't said good morning to him in a while?
Relax. He's one of the best education ministers we've had. Dr. Yao Osei Duchu. Sincerely.
But is it because he's not doing
his ideas have been very revolutionary, only if we implement some of them.
You used to say hello to Cassandra as well, right?
Cassandra.
You haven't said hi to her in a very long time.
I have. Yeah, sometimes. You know, you went away for 3 years, so... So
I see.
You were not monitoring.
CPL Frank Aintree, good morning to you. Thank you for your assistance. He's with the Ghana Police Service. Thank you very much for everything. I really do appreciate it. God bless you, God bless you, God bless you. And this morning, of course, I wonder if Chairman Wontumi, wherever he is this morning, even slept a wink from last night. I can imagine what's going through his head. We have heard from the NPP. We have also heard from his family and friends, especially in the Ashanti region. And a lot more is making the rounds this morning. But I am sure that if you are in Ghana by now, you know that the Ashanti regional chairman of the opposition NPP, Bernard Enchiboisiakon Obia Efreno chairman Wontumi, he's been sentenced to 20 years in prison after being found guilty of illegal mining. Now, his conviction has already sparked divergent discourse from both the NDC and the NPP, and of course, from the court of public opinion as well. And the NPP is already calling it a travesty of justice. Many people are commenting on the issue. And yesterday, Ken Ashigbe was actually advocating that he felt that he would have gotten the full sentence of 25 years instead of the 20 years that he's been given at the moment. Well, his legal team as well as the NPP are already on the road to appeal the conviction. We are not sure how that would go. But yesterday, we know that his legal counsel was not in the country when the judgment or the verdict was passed. But the first counsel, Honorable Andy Apia-Kubi, says that in the morning he called and told him that he should go ahead and appeal the conviction. So they've already started proceedings to appeal. And this morning, we're here, we'll be going into it in detail. And I'm sure, Bella, you'll be taking an extensive look at it when it's time for the big issue. But which angles and which areas are we looking at this?
I mean, generally everything, of course, from the side of the NPP indicating that there was no evidence and that the judge based her verdict on, you know, circumstances and, of course, circumspection. So we're going to look at that as well as against the reading from the judge, because she also put out a 59-page document detailing why she arrived at the decision that she arrived at. And of course, she relied heavily also on circumstantial evidence and gave reasons for that. And so we'll get into those details, looking at some admissions that were made by Chairman Wontumi in his witness statement as against the evidence that was given, you know, from the prosecution witness too as well. And so we'll get into that. Of course, like you said, we have the CSOs indicating that they expected the maximum sentence
of 25
years. But lawyer Martin Pebu also thinks that, well, maybe if they go ahead and appeal, at least there should be a reduction to about 5 to 8 years or 5 to 7 years of the sentence being served before he's let go.
Yes.
But he thinks that you know, the 20 years that he's gotten, it was good, it was fair, but he suspects that at least if they want to reduce it, he should spend at least 5 years in prison before he is released. So many angles to look at, but
a lot of angles.
Yes,
I also listened to him, and I quite agree to the remission in sentence that he talked about. And he said that many times when you get this type of judgment or conviction, the belief is that you don't serve all 20 years, but you serve 2/3 of it, or maybe 1/3 of it. And then maybe after you're done serving 1/3 of it, you can actually go to government, or you can go to the courts and say that, listen, this is what I did wrong. I want to be part of the reclamation of the forest. Maybe if it could be financially, you bring some money for the reclamation, and then you also bring some enforcement, of course, men working on the land and stuff like that, to show that you are contributing to the reclamation of the land. But I don't think that Ghana can wait for about 10 years or 7 years before Chairman Wontumi and his legal team, or everyone helping him out on this issue, to say that we want to contribute to the reclamation of the land. Look what happened in Sambraboy a few weeks back when the flooding took place. And when you listen to the residents, it had never, ever happened. And every single one who spoke attributed it to the activities of illegal mining in the area. Look at the number of excavators that were seized in the area. The level of devastation that was done or has been done to Sambraboy, I don't think that even if we give it 10 years, we can fully reclaim the land as it should, or for it to go back to its original. But anyway, I'm not a lawyer. The lawyers will deal with the issue. And of course, our guests will be here this morning to also delve into it for us. But quickly, let's take a look at who will be here this morning. We would have Andy Apia Kubi, Wontumi is a former lawyer, speaking to us this morning, as well as Theophilos G. Mega, private legal practitioner, and also NDC communications team member. Awula Sewa, we all know Awula Sewa, coordinator, Eco-Conscious Citizens. Lom Nuku Ahlija, lawyer, and also a law lecturer at Gimpa. Kofi Tonto, spokesperson for ex-President Bawumia. They would all be taking a bite on this issue that has broken the grounds and is making the rounds in the news from yesterday.
I think substantially we should also know that he has 2 other cases in court. So
Yes.
those also,
the Tanonimri one, and then the Exim Bank.
Yes. So he'll be from prison coming to the court, from prison coming to the courts. So
it's going to be a stretch for...
It will be quite an interesting...
Yes, and I'm thinking about how this is also impacting his political ambitions, you know, to be national chairman of the party. I wonder if that will still suffice. But Palgrave, I'm sure at a point we'll also speak to Palgrave Boachidankwa. He's been with him, and this morning he indicated that first thing this morning he would be with him to see how he's doing, how he's faring, or how he even spent the night. So I'm sure that even by the time we finish TV3 Newday this morning, we'll be speaking to him to know exactly what's happening.
Palgrave was really broken.
He was yesterday. He couldn't even speak. He cried. He said he cried, and when he got to the car park, he could not even remember where he had parked his car. Is it that they didn't see this coming, or they saw it coming but not this quick?
Well, if you look at the proceedings in the course of the trial, there were reports, and also laced with a lot of propaganda from both sides of the political divide, depending on the updates that were given by the Attorney General, particularly on their original social media handles, which then gave the public information as to what had transpired. You find that when the evidence was given and then those that were tendered, there were a lot of concerns on the defense side that were raised. Now, particularly, if a decision has to be made based on circumstantial evidence, but more importantly, somebody not being available to witness and no document available, then it means that the judge also had the onerous responsibility to make a decision. And so at the end of the day, a decision has been made. The other concern that has been raised is the fact that, well, if you have an interest in a land and then you give that interest to a third party, what they use it for is a question of whether you were aware that they were going to use it for so and so. When you know that the communication was that I want them to go there, go and reclaim the land, plant coconut, etc. And so it's a matter of, do you have the evidence to support what I said to the individual? And then during the cross-examination as well, of himself and the accused as per the judgment that was read yesterday. There were admissions that were also made, yes, but there was no documentation covering a number of actions and transactions that were undertaken. So.
It's a lot. It's a lot to think about and to chew on. But also, I mean, based on that statement that lawyer Martin Pebu made, that, you know, eventually he expects that if there should be a reduction in the sentence, at least he expects some 5 to 7 years. There was something that Ken Ashigbe said, and he said that, you know, yes, you can say that you would want to reclaim the land, and that's the reason why you should be let go or have your sentence reduced. But you cannot also reverse the damage that it's done to individuals, so babies who have been born with defects, to pregnant women who have had to lose their pregnancies, and even to the rest of us, because we've been told that there are high levels of mercury in our soil, and that is also now being transferred into the foods that we eat. And so we may not see the effects now, but he describes it as mass murder, what has transpired in Summerboy and what is also transpiring in the other areas where Galamsey is being heavily conducted. And so this is mass murder, and that is why he supports the statement he made earlier that he should have gotten the maximum sentence, and not just him. The question then would be for every other person who has been fingered in one level of Galamsey or the other, even the NDC executives who have been alleged as well. How soon are we going to see, you know, their cases also being put before a court of competent jurisdiction, and have them also eventually, if found guilty, sent to jail so they can also pay for their sins? Because
it's not just one side,
that's the concern. If you look at the time period between when this Summerboy issue started with Chairman Wontumi, it's been about 9 months and a few days or a few weeks. Same thing people are asking about with regards to the NDC executives and party members who have also been mentioned, because we get updates from the Attorney General on what they're doing with regards to Chairman Wontumi and the others. But we've not really gotten the way forward beyond the fact that they say they have forwarded, you know, the allegations to Iyoko. Nothing has been done beyond that, or at least we don't know what's being done. So how soon are they going to also ensure that their own people would also face, prosecuted, you know, the full rigors of the law, and if they are found indeed, you know, guilty, they would also go to jail or pay for their sins. So
interesting days ahead.
I know.
We want to see all of that, how all of that will pan out. If they will be able to jail their own is one thing that Ghanaians will be waiting to see. And this whole cycle of, okay, if it's NDC, then they jail all the MPP people who they deem are guilty or whom the courts deem guilty, and then when MPP also comes, they also now in return jail NDC people who it's just a cycle that must break, and democracy, true democracy that we say we stand for must take its course. So interesting days ahead. We'll see how this pans out. The courts of public opinion are also saying that there's a whole bunch of noise around it just because there are political figures involved. If it was, God forbid, a layperson like me or Roland, you would have been thrown in jail without anybody even hearing about it, you know. You would have been thrown in jail, you won't see placards saying free Wontumi or free Bella or free Cookie, exactly, or free Roland and stuff like that. But
nobody will even say that I'm her father.
Exactly.
It's a problem.
and stand on top of a truck later on and be singing to, you know.
Why would they say you're their father? But you're their father.
He doesn't have anybody who will say that.
I get it.
Miracle was a father to some girl.
But you have plenty children in Ashaiman. You have plenty children in Ashaiman.
I will get people to come forward.
But the ghetto youth in Ashaiman will come and do.
And then after that you do.
Papa Mame.
Thank you.
Mimi say me ba.
So then you come out and do.
Let's look at this money segment.
Why are you running away? Wait, Roland.
The water is slippery.
Wait, when you were away, you know, the 2 weeks you were away, there were people who kept asking about you. Why is that when you came back, you didn't go on a thank you tour?
Why didn't you go on a thank you? It was more than 2 weeks, Bella. It was 2 months, actually. But in and out. It was 2 months.
Okay,
why didn't you go on a thank you tour?
To give me a guideline, because, you know, going on those tours, I don't know the modus operandi.
Because if it wasn't for them, you wouldn't have been back on air.
Hey, Charlie, you did 2 women, you kill me. Charlie, next, please, we have this morning segment.
Roland in Braba.
Listen, our WhatsApp line is active. I can tell it's flooded already with messages here and there. We'll read as many of them as possible. But yes, this is TV3 Newday. Welcome to this morning's segment.
disputed that Chairman Wontumi lawfully acquired his mineral concession. It was never disputed that he lawfully acquired his mineral concession. That fact was established and accepted before the court. The central question was whether that concession had been assigned or transferred in violation of the law. It is our respected view that no evidence was adduced before the court establishing any such assignment or transfer of mineral rights by Chairman Wontumi. The prosecution could not produce any evidence to show that Wontumi had assigned his mineral rights. Instead, the conviction rested on assumptions and inferences which, in our view, could not amount to proof beyond reasonable doubt. That is why we firmly believe that his conviction, the president himself has acknowledged that persons in his administration are involved in Galamsey. What concrete action has followed those admissions? Who are those members of the president party that are engaged in Galamsey of which the president knows of? What has become of the petition submitted to Economic and Organized Crime Office, IOCO, seeking an investigation into allegations concerning Mr. Joseph Yamin, the NDC national organizer, and Abanga Yakubu, vice chairman of the NDC? What has happened to Honorable Mohammed Yakubu, NDC MP for Ahafo North South? What happened to the NDC MP for Aworin, Honorable Oscar Ofori Labi, who was accused by the chiefs and the people of Aworin? We respect the authority of our courts. Respect for the judiciary does not require silence in the face of a judgment that is fundamentally flawed. Our Constitution guarantees every citizen the right to disagree with judicial decisions and to seek redress through the appellate process. That is precisely what we intend to do as a political party. Our legal team has already commenced the necessary steps to challenge his judgment through the appellate process. The MPP considers Wontumi a political prisoner.
Well, so we'll look at the subject matters because it is important for all of us to put all this in context. We know that the case was filed on the 7th of October last year. That'll be 2025. And so far, this case was heard at the High Court and the Criminal Division 4 right here in Accra. And the presiding judge for this important case was Her Ladyship Justice Audrey Kokuvite. And of course, we brought you live coverage of the judgment and the period thereafter, and then also got the reactions. Now, the main issues that the court had to look at based on the counts that they were seeking answers for, which of course led to that judgment, we would also take you through. But the accused persons, we now know as the first accused is Bernard Enchiboisiako, aka Chairman Wontumi, 49-year-old. And then we also know he's an entrepreneur, owned the company in question, Apunta Mining, which also happens to be the third accused by way of the entity. And then also his co-director, Kwame Entry. And if you read the judgment, had been at large, we're told. Now, for all this, we've had, for this case particularly, leading the prosecution from the side of the Attorney General, the Deputy Attorney General himself, Dr. Justice Remsai. Very instrumental, not only in trying to communicate what had transpired during the proceedings of the case, but also subsequently trying to communicate what the position of the prosecution was throughout the period of this case. And then on the side of the defense, lawyer Tachia had been very instrumental within that period as well. But before then, we also had lawyer Pia Kubi. Now, it was also quite interesting to note that there was an application that was filed for deferment of the judgment in the first place because the lawyer for the accused person was seeking the permission to travel. And so because he was going to be outside the jurisdiction, wanted a deferment of the judgment, but ultimately that was dismissed, and so we had it. Now, what were they being charged for? Assignment of mineral rights without ministerial approval. And that was a question that was confronting the court. So did the accused persons assign their mineral rights without ministerial approval? And subsequently also, we had whether the accusation could hold that the accused persons facilitated the alliance's mining operation on the said piece of land or the concession, if we have to better explain it, within the Mineral and Mining Act. And we also know that, per the background, there was a police anti-galamsey operation that took place the near middle of last year, that will be in April, in the Samroboy forest. And for those of you who've been to Samroboy, you know that for decades, they've had Samatex. Samatex is a timber log company. They've always operated in the area. They seem to undertake a lot of the logging, the felling of the trees, and subsequently also would have a lot of reclamation activities done. They have a civil case with the Akunta Mining Company. If you to also undertake your research very well, you'll find that they had a civil existing case about concerns about the encroachment, etc. Now, during this period of this anti-galamsey operation, they did seize 8 pump-action guns, 1 single-barreled gun. For most of you, you call it kafugbe. And then they also had seized gold, machetes, 310 cartridges, 4 motorcycles, 2 vehicles, 25 serviceable, as well as 4 non-serviceable excavators. And then in cash, they had in excess of 150,000. Very important to just explain in the background, because investigation then traced the mining arrangement to a verbal permission. They said the accused person, that will be the first accused, Chairman Wontumi, said to have given Henry Okum in September 2024. Now, subsequently, if you read the judgment and then you monitor the proceedings, you would find that because of that verbal arrangement that was given and without documentation, that became part of the defense of the now, of course, convicted Chairman Wontumi. The court then rejected, by its own conclusions, a defense bid to stay proceedings and then also refer constitutional questions to the Supreme Court, because a filing had been done for that explanation and in interpretation by the Supreme Court, and this was pursuant to Article 132, finding no genuine question of interpretation, which the court thought was not something that needed the approval or then the interpretation of the Supreme Court. And so went ahead to make those conclusions in the judgment. On the merits, again, just couching from the judgment, the court pierced Akunta Mining's corporate veil. And by so doing, it also meant that the director of the company, the now incarcerated or jailed Chairman Wontumi, as the true company's de facto controlling mind. Indeed, if you look at the judgment, they said in the absence of proper corporate governance practices, he was the controlling figure, the decision maker. As a result of that, they needed to pierce the corporate veil and then look at the decisions of the directors, the actions of the directors, their acts and omissions that led to the current case and the judgment thereof. Now, we quickly then will have to look at subsequently the concerns that have been raised and then the sentencing. Now, for Chairman Wontumi, he's been given 20 years imprisonment with hard labor, also fined 10,000 penalty units, and in default, 3 years in hard labor subsequently. Now, for each penalty unit is around 12 Ghana cedis. So you just have to do the computations and then you get to know the amounts that he's going to pay. And then again, we also have for count 4, 20 years imprisonment with hard labor. And mind you, this prison terms are going to run concurrently. And for count 3, there's a fine of 15,000 penalty units. And then for count 6, 15,000 penalty units. Very important for us to take this into consideration. And then also look at then what will be the rationale and the reason, and then what motivated the court to undertake the sentence. And the court cited the gravity of the offenses and the need for this to become a deterrent for illegal exploitation of state-owned mineral licenses, regulatory framework, etc. It's very important for all of us to put this into perspective. And we'll be speaking to a number of individuals, particularly linked to the legal profession, who tend to communicate on this subject. And Cookie, quite handy this has come, but again, arousing a lot of concerns, particularly from the MPP and then the minority side in Parliament. There was a press conference that was convened by the MPP, and then the minority leader also putting together a whole statement on the subject matter as well. And it did say that the minority is disputing the conviction of Chairman Wontumi, particularly the legal reasoning underpinning the decision. And we all do know that they have concerns about the lifting of the corporate veil, because their position is that if an act or omission has been undertaken by a company, why then do you go for the directors or the director? Of course, while there are stated cases for that, there are also exceptions, and for which, if you look at the judgment, the court also was able to outline those in that judgment. The statement also contends that the judgment was delivered in the absence of the accused lead counsel. And we know that the lead counsel in this matter is lawyer Tachia, who were told had traveled out of the country, amounting to a denial of the constitutional rights of the council, or to a council of choice, and a fair hearing as stated and outlined in Article 19 of the 1992 Constitution. They also continue that the trial judge wrongly declined to refer issues of constitutionality that were raised. And again, in pursuant to Article 130, they thought that by assuming jurisdiction, reserved a jurisdiction that was exclusively that of the Supreme Court, and this was not taken into consideration. They also cited cases such as ex parte Zanato Rawlings and Chachu Chikata to argue that the trial court approach constituted a jurisdictional error, which was also capable of vitiating the proceedings that had been undertaken. The statement also stressed that the minority supports the prosecution of illegal mining, however, also rejects immunity based on political affiliation, while insisting that prosecutions must comply with constitutional safeguard. They also thought there was a selective justice as well, and they said similar allegations have been made associated with the governing party because individuals who had been cited have not been pursued with the same vigor, the same speed, and the same kind of interest or enthusiasm. And so it created a perception, according to the minority, of unequal enforcement of the law. It's as if some others, according to the minority, deserve better punishment than others. And they also raise issues of broader constitutional and democratic implications, and then called for institutional action because they are encouraging the Attorney General to disclose the status of comparable investigation. As a result of that, calling on the Court of Appeal to examine the appeal and also ask the judiciary to reaffirm the proper threshold for constitutional referrals. There are a number of actions that have been taken so far. The minority so far has expressed its solidarity with Chairman Wontumi and the MPP and is pledging to pursue all lawful constitutional avenues to challenge the judgment and also conclude by describing Chairman Wontumi as a political prisoner. And so also meaning that he's been politically targeted for persecution. I mean, basically, that's what the minority states in that statement. The MPP also described him as a political prisoner and so offered a lot of solidarity and support for him and did promise that they will go all length to make sure that they sought justice for him. And the way forward will be, of course, to go for that appeal.
All right, Rolanda, thank you. It was a whole lot to take in, but thank you for the breakdown this morning. Many messages coming in already, Rolly, and many of our viewers this morning are also asking questions about the other people who were also named or fingered in Professor Frimpong Boateng's report. If you do remember, that were a number of names or a number of people were fingered in that report, and many of you are asking what is going to happen or what is happening to all those people. Our WhatsApp portal is open. You can send in your messages. And Ablade Fiekuma says, so the MPP does not care the damages Chairman Wontumi has caused, and they are still defending him. Which kind of political prisoner is this? So NPP is not aware how majority of Ghanaians and institutions are serious in defending illegal mining. And many more messages. Will do well to read as many of them. Prosperity Mensa says the reality has now dawned on Chairman Wontumi. The law is the law. The reset is resetting gradually. Brakofi says Wontumi is simply an enemy to the environment. He destroys everything in nature. Correct score, Zakaria says Ghana is working again. Mahama has never gone to the international bond market, yet the economy has bounced back from comatose. Everything is in progress. Focal points to success. Mahama, do not mind any and every nuisance call from the opposition. God bless you, Mr. President. Leave a good legacy and a good name. We support you in every endeavor. All right. Prudential Livingston also has sent in a long one. I'll try to wrap it up. And it says, wound to me, bit to me. He has murdered sleep and will sleep no more. He was so bold, recalcitrant, all intractable nature was made to flourish because of his financial support to the past regime. He was untouchable and played the kakanyame. He could then abuse our law, rape our forests through illegal galamsey, sharing of mining concessions, and all sorts of irresponsibility. No one must accuse the government or President John Dramani Mahama of political interference. We were all here and we saw everything. NDC, it's obvious you are setting a good precedence here in our country, Ghana. Well, you can send in your messages. This morning, however, we would love to touch base with residents of Samreboy, because you do remember that somewhere late June 2026 this year, torrential rains hit the western region that caused flooding in the Tunnel and the Samreboy area. The Tunnel and Samreboy rivers overflowed their banks and submerged large parts of Samreboy in the Wassa and Menfi area. Now, we're told that over 2,000 residents in the area were displaced. About 26 buildings collapsed and 200 plus homes were also destroyed. Roads were cut off, transportation grounded, and a whole lot of damage was caused in the area. Now, we're told that the root cause of the flooding were years of uncontrolled galamsey in and around Samreboy that degraded the riverbanks and blocked or altered the natural course of the Tunnel and the Samre rivers. Now, we do remember that the general manager of Samatex at the time said illegal miners had at points used excavators to physically block the main river channel to cross to the other side for mining. So when the heavy rains came, flood waters had nowhere to drain toward the coast and backed up into the town instead. Well, we do also remember that the Western Regional Minister, Joseph Nelson, visited affected communities, blamed galamsey and weak community reporting, and also the Corporation for the Western Disaster, and called for collective public government action. And we brought you a lot of information from that area. And we do know that after we spoke to many of the residents in that area, almost everyone who spoke to TV3 attributed the flooding to the illegal mining in the Samreboy area. Well, still on your messages this morning, let's get into the WhatsApp portal and see what you are saying. Humado Sichope says, With Wontumi now heading to prison, the NPP should stop calling the case political persecution. Their own lands minister, Samuel Abujinapo, publicly accused Wontumi of illegal mining, yet the NPP never described those actions as political witch hunting. Even when President Nana-Addo publicly defended Wontumi, the NPP did not accuse either Abujinapo or Nana-Addo of persecuting him. If the NPP disagrees with the judgment, the proper course is to appeal, not to dismiss the outcome as a political witch hunting. My regards to Mr. Jibril Tahiru and Spencer Akotia, NDC Youth Organizer and Deputy Youth Organizer Hopefuls. Homadot Sichupe sent in that one. Let's see if we can fetch a lot more messages. Okay. All right. Okay, the guys in the back would help me with the messages, but Chairman Wontumi is not above the law.
Scrolling or who's scrolling?
They'll help me to scroll from. They'll help me to scroll from the back. So whilst they help me, yes, Rolly, what messages you have?
Well, I have a couple of messages. Good morning to you, the Chief Executive for the Driver Vehicle Licensing Authority, Julius Nikwe Kote, aka Logas. Good morning to you. I know that DVLA, they're also coming up with a new number plate system. We'll try and expatiate on it in subsequent segment as well. Wishing you all the best for the morning, but there are no worries there as well. But a couple of messages. Master Planner Junior, now the communication officer for Kintampo North constituency for the MPP, says that according to the judgment, Chairman Wontumi himself or his company was not involved in Galamsey, but rather it was the leaseholder who did the Galamsey. Not too sure the judgment. Yeah, it's okay. So my worry is that he's also going to jail. The clock is ticking. Just give some time. Ghanaians are watching closely. Chairman Wontumi, stay strong. Message from the outside to you in prison. And then also Abigail Dakun, Ghana National Association of Teachers, good morning to you, says that quite interesting turn of events, but we're monitoring the situation. We'll get the latest as it is. But this one, Haj Kapson says, are you aware that it was the Kufuor Baumi administration or government that amended the Minerals and Mining Act and increased the mining sentence to 15 years and maximum sentence to 25 years per the amendment of Section 99. Well, that is true. So, okay. Cephas, good morning to you, says that, does it mean that any politician who commits a crime and gets punished is a political prisoner? Well, we prefer it so then. Let's get more political prisoners.
Okay,
Cephas, thank you. Okay,
can I take messages from,
Charlie, take over. You're the best.
From the WhatsApp portal. All right, let's continue from the WhatsApp portal this morning. And this one is from, okay, I'll read it. I'll get the name. Good morning. Okay, Eben from Kwabenya sent in this one. And he says the NPP can describe the jailing of Wontumi anyhow, but no one cares because we can allow one person to call himself a governor of a region to destroy our forest and go freely. At least justice has been done to our forest. Greetings to Julius, Deborah, Chief of Staff. All right. Roland, good morning. People must learn from Wontumi's actions. I know the laws work in Ghana. I have a question for the MPP party. Which of the cases will they say, as for this case, it is not political witch hunting? Fiamonogo in Abo sent in that one. Good morning, Rolly and the crew. Justice has been served to the people of Samraboy and the people of Ghana. What evidence was the MPP talking about? If they want the evidence of incarceration, they should watch the videos of Erastus Asari Donko. Congrats to the state attorneys, said Graft. Kokua Jaman North sent in that one. Another one says the opposition MPP should be happy and admit that oral is working. Yusuf from Town Council line says, Rolly, is NPP more human than others? Philip Asabit and Serinam of NDC fraternity were all convicted and jailed under Nana Akufo-Addo. Even the law used for his trial was enacted by his own government. NPP should give us a break. Another message here says that on a very good day, good morning TV3, illegal mining has caused serious harm to Ghana. So anyone found guilty, regardless of political affiliation, must face the law. At the same time, no one should be condemned before a fair trial. Justice must be based on evidence, not politics. The law should apply equally. Jerry Ostago sent in that one. Another one says, good morning, TV3 Newday. I respect you all. Please help me beg NPP to give us a break. It is only illiterates that are ready to listen to them. Okay. The jail chairman Wontumi is in the right, the jailing of Chairman Wontumi is in the right direction. This shows oral is working. James Jordan from Ashaman sent in that one. Another one here says, even the ordinary courts concluded Wontumi's case within a year. Imagine what would happen if a public tribunal were established to help clear the court's backlog. Cases involving alleged corruption should be heard much faster, and public officials found guilty after due process would be held accountable under the law. Oral is alive. Okay. Another one I'll read this morning says, good morning, Rolly and Cookie. I'll plead with TV3 to recap the footages, if we have, of the devastation nature of the Akonta Mining Company illegally destroyed the Summerboy Forest Reserve, polluted sources of water, and left a lot of cocoa and peasant farmers in a jobless and troubling situation. Please, at least, let's go back down memory lane as it would take the people of Ghana as a... Okay, I understand what you mean, but we've been showing images from the devastation in the Summerboy area. We've shown images of the flooding as well, so that should suffice for now. Good morning, Cookie. The MPP is saying that there was no evidence in the case, but the judge forcefully placed him in prison. On the other hand, his lawyer admitted wrongdoing, and he's pleading for a reduction in his jail term. Joseph Fojoku sent in that one. Sir Jake is saying that, in fact, the MPP faithfuls and the minority are just doing something to show that they have some kind of sympathy to Wontumi, which is totally the other way around. Most of them, and even Wontumi himself, knew he would be jailed. My question is, why did his first lawyer, Andy Apiaku, leave him on the way in the last minute to his court hearing? That alone should tell you what he saw. This will serve as a deterrent to all political figures at various offices that the law is the law when you are caught in the web of wrongdoing. The government should pursue the other Galamsey kingpins to bring sanity to our environment. Thanks to Mr. Erastus Asaridonko, lawyer Martin Kwebu, and Ken Ashigbe for their service to Ghana. Ghana first, says De Graft Mensa Kokua in Jaman North. Kwame Acidity, you've also sent us a message that says, good morning to the crew. Chairman Wontumi sentenced to 20 years in prison over illegal mining is not a political witch hunt. These were the same courts and judges the MPP used for their prosecutions, and nothing has changed. And the same prison, Chachuchikata, Muntie 3, and others went to. No one is above the law. All right, Kwame Acidity, thank you for your message as well. Wow. I've tried to read a number of them. Yeah. We'll continue reading more of them during the big issue, but do you have a few?
I have a few. Well, this one, Florence Otu of the Ghana Revenue Authority is watching us. It's quite an interesting package you have this morning. But that said, say a happy birthday to Mrs. Esther Duncan Otu. You're 80 years today. Mrs. Duncan Otu, happy 80th birthday to you from all your beloved children and family, from Florence Otu of the Ghana Revenue Authority. But Cookie, we have to pepper our day, right?
All right, we do. We do.
Well, so you pick up your day, the Milky Way, with a smooth, rich taste of peck milk shortcake. It is just pure delight, I tell you.
And it's available everywhere in the country. Watch now, when you're coming, buy one for me, please. I'll be waiting for it.
Fantastic gesture.
Otherwise, I'll supply you a shipload of it tomorrow when I'm coming to work.
Yeah, people get links.
It's still TV3 Newday. Thank you for staying with us for the very first part of the opening of the show. We take a break now. When we come back, the big issue will be underway.
conversation this morning regarding Chairman Wontumi and that 20-year jail sentence that was handed to him yesterday at the Accra High Court. And so we'll discuss it into further details. And of course, a lot of questions have been asked from the opposition. NPP support has been given to him and thrown behind him, of course, by his people in the Ashanti region, by his party and by the minority caucus, who are also, drilling holes into the verdicts that was given by the Accra High Court judge. And so we'll get into all those conversations shortly. But just a reminder that we are live on DSTV channel 279 and also streaming live on Facebook at TV3 Ghana and on YouTube at TV3 Ghana. So join the conversation. If you have more questions and comments and opinions to share, you know what to do. Remember, the hashtag is TV3 Newday. And in the studios this morning, I have right across the table from me, Theophilus Jimega. He's a private legal practitioner. He's also a member of the NDC National Communications team. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you too?
I'm good, thank you very much. Well, maybe I'll just hold on. I'll hold on with the introductions. You know what? Let's take a look at some conversations that have arisen as a result of that sentence that was handed down to Chairman Wontumi yesterday in court. So we'll start off with, I don't even know how to describe lawyer Ndiapi Akubi, whether he's a former attorney, former lawyer to Wontumi, or he's still the lawyer, because as at yesterday, he says that per conversation he had with Chairman Wontumi in the morning before the verdict was given, he told him to go ahead and appeal because he suspected that the verdicts will not go his way. And so if that's the case, he should go ahead and appeal, and he intends to do that. So is he back on board as his lawyer? Well, whichever way, we'll hear from him and what he had to say about the ruling yesterday. And also, the General Secretary of the NPP, Justin Frimpong Kodua, led the team to address the press, where he described the verdict as a travesty of justice, says there was no evidence adduced, and that basically the verdict that was handed down to Chairman Wontumi was based on circumspection and, of course, circumstantial evidence. Let's take a look.
I am exhausted. I don't even have any words to bring out. In fact, I am so disappointed with our criminal justice system as shown by this court. I am so disappointed. Right. Because this judgment is premised on two charges. One of them is assignment of a mineral rights without authorization from the minister responsible. Number two, facilitating the mining or supporting or providing support services to a miner. And in both cases, I think that the evidence on record could not support the charge. In this case, my position in criminal law, I do not hold brief for anybody who will flout the law. And in the case that somebody has committed an offense and there is evidence to support it, I will not in any way obstruct the process. Before you can convict, you need to rely on cogent evidence. And in this particular case, the witnesses who came to court, prosecution witness number one, I don't know from anywhere. I was never there when they discussed land reclamation and planting of coconut, let alone mining. And he says that I was engaged by PW2. And that anything done on the land has been at the instance of PW2. And that if we mine and got gold, the gold is for PW2. The money that was taken by the police is for PW2. The ammunition that they retrieved from us is for PW2. You know, PW2 had earlier on given caution statement saying that I did not do any mining. You see, there's something that I have to share with you. That this judgment was very out, and which we knew what was happening before he went to the courtroom. He called me this morning, and he told me So he gave me even instructions that if it should happen this way, go on an appeal on my behalf. But it was people who told me that the country has come. So I will compare with the president and see his position also, and see how we proceed going forward together. And we have to fight this decision on appeal.
It was never disputed that Chairman Wontumi lawfully acquired his mineral concession. It was never disputed. The central question was whether that concession had been assigned or transferred in violation of the law. It is our respected view that no evidence was adduced before the court establishing any such assignment or transfer of mineral rights by Chairman Wontumi. Instead, the conviction rested on assumptions and inferences which, in our view, could not amount to proof beyond reasonable doubt. That is why we firmly believe that his conviction is a travesty of justice and has to be overturned on appeal. The president himself has acknowledged that persons in his administration are involved in Galamsey. What concrete action has followed those admissions? While we respect the authority of our courts, respect for the judiciary does not require silence in the face of a judgment that is fundamentally flawed. Our Constitution guarantees every citizen the right to disagree with judicial decisions and to seek redress through the appellate process. Our legal team has already commenced the necessary steps to challenge his judgment through the appellate process. The NPP considers Wontumi a political prisoner.
And I guess we'll need some more explanation on what a political prisoner in this sense means. But very quickly, good morning to you, Vincent Nomenyo. You're watching us on Facebook, Nana Benyin, and of course, Adolf Mate. Kwejuk also says, okay, no, never mind. Apia, okay, please, never mind. Let me just say good morning to Manini Mani and a lot of you who are commenting as well. Maybe at the right time, I'll come back to these comments. But let me come to my guest in the studio. So earlier, I introduced to you Theophilus Chimeka. He's a private legal practitioner and also a member of the NDC communications team. Good morning again.
Good morning.
And then right next to him, Lom Nuku Alija. I believe I got it right? Alija. Yes. He's a lawyer and a law lecturer at GIMPA. Good morning.
Good morning,
How are you doing?
How are you too?
I'm good, thank you very much. Good to have you in the studios. And Kofi Tonto is a member of the NPP communications team. I almost said NDC. Hey, travesty of justice. Oh, good morning. How are you?
I'm okay. Not okay, but I'm okay.
Why, you couldn't sleep?
How can anyone sleep in the land of injustice? But we'll come there.
We're coming there now. I mean, yes. You started the conversation. So why do you say in the land of injustice? What's going on? And why are you all, I mean, the NPP referring to this as a travesty of justice and describing Chairman Wontumi as a political, prisoner?
You see, Bella, when you and I voted for John Dramani Mahama, His Excellency.
Oh, you voted for him. That's nice. Carry on.
You know what I mean. We voted for him to fight Galamsey as one of the many things. We voted for him to crack the whip on individuals who are committing the crime of destroying our lands and water bodies. In fact, the promise was that within a week, they will crack down and stop the menace. But since President Mahama became a president, in fact, the issue has gotten worse, and it is not me saying it. Erastus Asaridonko has said it, and I'll read to you a few things. One, he posted this 6 days ago. He said, this cannot be cooperative mining. This is Galamsey happening under the supervision of Bekwai DCE. The government appointee, President Mahama's appointee, is supervising illegal mining in Bekwai. That was 6 days ago. Then he said, whoever is DCE for Impoho in the Western region and the regional minister have failed the country. Then he continues, even before the Samra Boy floods would subside, Samra Boy, the place that is in contention, illegal miners are back mining along the Tano River and along the airstrip. Where is leadership? He continues, this shouldn't be happening. Mining one of the mountains that surrounds Lake Bosumtwe. These are just examples of a journalist saying that illegal mining is not only worse. Appointees of President Mahama are deeply involved in illegal mining. This is evidence of people doing mining, illegal mining. Then the president himself comes out and says that my appointees and people in my party are involved in illegal mining. Then the Attorney General, about a year ago, wrote to Yoko to investigate high-ranking party members for illegal mining. To date, Sremsai, the Deputy Attorney General who took Wontumi to court, has not told us a single human being that he's prosecuting within his government. He's not told us a single party appointee he's prosecuting. These are people doing illegal mining. Emphasis on doing illegal mining. Sremsai is rather interested in Wontumi, a person accused of transferring his land to somebody who is doing mining. Let the record reflect that Wontumi was not jailed for corruption. That Wontumi was not jailed for financial impropriety. That Wontumi was not jailed for personally doing galamsey. Let the record reflect. Sremsai, the Deputy Attorney General, overlooked all the people, including his own colleague appointees, and went after a person whose crime is that he gave his land.
Was it Sremsai who went after him?
But he's the Attorney General.
This same journalist that you referred to, he did a report on Samra Boy, which is what led to that invasion of the forest, that led to the arrest of PW1, of course, and
the bottom line is that
this issue
the bottom line is that in the court of law, it was established that Wontumi was not the one doing mining.
It was established.
It was established that Wontumi was not the one doing mining.
Hold on, relax. So, like I was asking you, this same journalist is the one whose report led to the invasion of the forest in Samra Boy, where JC was eventually arrested, and he indicated that it was Henry Okum who contracted him to supervise the work. Then Henry Okum now says that the land that he's, mining on was given to him, or that concession, he was allowed into it by Chairman Wontumi. Based on the law, hold on. Based on the law says that if you have a concession and you have legal access to that concession, a license to it, you cannot pass it on to someone else unless there's a written license from the minister. Did
Henry provide a written evidence that the land was transferred to him?
I mean, that will come to that, because the judge says that she based her judgment on circumstantial evidence. Based on the fact that there was no written evidence.
No problem.
But it was also based on further revelations that the two parties made in court. Henry and Chairman Wontumi's, witness statements as well.
See, Bella, you are leading me on a direction that
you
I am
brought
coming.
that in.
No, I am leading to that direction. Let me lead to that direction.
No, but I've asked you a question.
Which is?
I'm saying that, or I'm asking you that this same journalist is the one that also led the authorities.
But what does that change? It doesn't change anything. It doesn't change my argument. My argument is that there is evidence of people doing galams. In fact, that evidence that you are referencing didn't say Wontumi was doing the illegal mining. It said Henry and the other people. Where are those people? Those people that the evidence pointed to doing the galamsey. Do you know where they are? They are in the bosom of Sremsai. Sremsai took them in
as prosecution witnesses.
Of course. Now you, Bella.
Well, we have a lawyer here. He probably would explain that. But if you agree to be a prosecution witness,
When I voted for John Dramani Mahama, when I vote campaign, okay, Bella, you see, this logic about campaign is perhaps one of the most useless arguments I've ever heard.
Why?
We are sitting here armed robbers walk into this premises and attack us. The argument is the armed robbers who came here to attack us should go scot-free, and we should go and look for a campaign who sent them. Is that the logic? Is that the argument? It's a useless argument. The person who pointed a gun at me, the person who nearly killed me or killed somebody, that person should go scot-free. We have all said that Galamsey is treasonous. The person who committed the treason should go scot-free, and then we should go and look for a so-called campaign. In this case, Wontumi was not even a campaign. The evidence shows that Wontumi was not a campaign. Wontumi was a properly a landowner who or a lease owner who gave his land to somebody to engage in an activity of reclamation.
That's his word against Henry Okum.
Of course, and that is word against Henry Odum. Henry Odum didn't provide any evidence.
Okum, actually.
Okum. Yeah. Henry didn't provide any evidence. And you rightfully said, the lawyer said Wontumi should have known that Henry does small-scale mining. So Henry, by implied logic, will be doing mining on the land. It's like saying that I've given my land to Bella. Now, Bella, come and sell or come and perch on my land to sell food on it. Then the next thing I know, Bella is building a house on it. Then the logic is that I should have known that Bella is a contractor or is an architect or he's a mason. So I should have known that Bella could build on my land.
So
where is that logic
coming from? What does the Minerals and Mining Act say? In Section 14, it says that the mineral rights shall not in whole or in part be transferred, assigned, mortgaged, or otherwise encumbered or dealt in a manner without the prior approval in writing of the minister, which approval shall not be unreasonably withheld or given subject to unreasonable conditions.
First of all.
Now, this law alone, because if you read the judge's statement that she put out, that 59-page document, she says that just the fact that even Chairman Wontumi's witness statement indicates that, yes, they gave rights to the gentleman to go into that forest, and whether it's reclamation or mining, he still worked on it. They are the ones who facilitated this process. And so that's against the law in the first place.
Respectfully, I disagree with the judge.
You're allowed to disagree, but that's
because here is the thing. Once Wontumi owns the land, and here I am assuming without admitting, Wontumi can even give the land to professionals to operationalize the land on his behalf without necessarily transferring it.
When you say operationalize?
So in this country, there are mining companies who will get a lease and they will hire a company, an expert, a company with expertise in mining or mining support services to engage in mining or other support services on the lease.
Yeah, but they still need a written document from the minister, per the law.
No. You are talking about transferring the lease.
No, but the judge stated that as well.
Yeah.
That even in the case that, okay, Wontumi says that Henry Okum came to him as a mining support service provider and not a small-scale miner. Even that still required that if he's coming in to provide mining support services, he still needs a license from the Minister of Lands and Resources before he can even go and conduct reclamation on that land.
First of all, look.
Have you read that statement?
You see, what I'm trying to tell you is that, and that's why I keep bringing the point. You see, you are leading me on a different trajectory.
I am not. I'm responding to what you're saying. And I'm reading based on what the judge put in the statement.
I am telling you that there is evidence of people who are doing galamsey. There is evidence of people who are government appointees doing galamsey. The president himself has admitted it. There is no denial of that. All of these people have been overlooked. In fact, there is even a case where a company has equally given, or what they call giving permission to somebody to go on a land. But that case, the license was rather revoked. A committee was set up. that person is not facing the law with the potential of going to jail for 20 years. So I started my argument that this, as you rightfully played, Kodia's tape, that this is a political prisoner. The argument I am making to you this morning is there is injustice on the land. And the land, I mean in the country. Because a president who promised us to fight Galamsey has admitted that his own officials are doing Galamsey. As we speak, not a single one of them is being prosecuted.
But he has forwarded their names to Iyoko and says Iyoko
which names? Tell me the names. Tell me the names that the president forwarded.
Don't worry, I'll pull it up.
Tell me the names.
So this is a statement that was put out on the 15th of July 2025, and it is from the Office of the Attorney General. It says directive to investigate allegations of illegal mining activities by named individuals. Then it goes on to say that Mr. Yakubu Abanga and Mr. Joseph Yamin, these are people.
Those are two different things. Please. Don't come.
What are you saying? You're asking for names. I'm reading the names.
You are referencing. This was what, 2015?
Yes.
But the president made the comment just a few months ago.
No, but
are you saying that the president was referring to Yamin? Are you saying that the president was referring to Yamin? Look, please.
What are you saying?
What I am saying is that
you're asking for names, and I'm reading these names to you.
Bella.
Those that have been forwarded. You didn't even let me finish reading.
I have just told you because
you didn't even let me finish
because we know about Yamin's issue.
You and who?
As you rightfully said, it was publicized.
Which is what I'm reading to you.
Yeah, so you don't have to read it to me.
So
I am telling
you know for the names.
No, I am referencing a different situation. This is 2015. And I'm talking about the president's comment.
This is not 2015, 2025, 15 July.
Sorry, 2025. And I'm referencing the president's comment in 2026. And I've also read to you what a journalist has said about DCEs. He actually gave DCEs a stream side prosecuting Bekwai DCE. A stream side prosecuting the other DCEs that Erastus has mentioned. That is the point we are making. Those who are committing the crime are there. There is evidence that they are committing the crime. Assuming without admitting that Wontumi gave his land to somebody. And now it's based on circumstantial evidence, based on what Wontumi said and what the person said. Assuming. Is that the most egregious crime in Galamsey in this country? Is that what we are being made to believe? That Wontumi transferring his land is the most egregious.
But I have read the law crime? To you.
No. I
have read the law.
I have not disputed the law. I made my comment very carefully. I said, is that the most egregious?
Okay.
That the one who transferred his land has committed more harmful crime than the DCs who are doing it?
It doesn't mean that if there's someone in court, they shouldn't deal with the person.
I have not said that. I have not said that.
So do you then...
I have not said that.
No, because the way you're posting this, it makes it look as if Wontumi has not done anything as bad. But again, he still had access to the concession and passed it on to someone, and the person engaged in illegal mining.
First of all,
are you saying that he's not wrong for what he did?
First of all, I hold the view. Of course, the party hold the view that this is political persecution. We've said that. So that is not in doubt. I am only proving to you why that is political persecution.
All right.
That's the point that I'm making. So the party has made it clear that we disagree with the ruling, that we think Wontumi is being persecuted, that we think the government is going after Wontumi. That we've made it clear.
Does it not water down the capabilities of the judge? Because then are you
what capabilities?
That
what capabilities?
No,
if a political party,
prisoner,
why? When they
sit here and say that it is political, not her ruling, but the whole idea of Wontumi being jailed is political.
A whole Supreme Court justice was called Osunomami. What is worse than that?
Let me bring
a whole Supreme Court justice was called Osunomami. What is worse than that?
Okay, Counsel. I mean, clearly you heard from him and the rest of the NPP, and they are saying that, Wontumi is a political prisoner. In fact, the Minority Caucus in Parliament also released a statement, and they have punched holes in a number of things. I mean, the veil being pierced, etc. And they are asking questions. questions and saying, based on that, of course, they're going to appeal. What are your responses to that?
Well, I want to say a very good morning to His Excellency the President. I mean, I'm happy that at least one of the things he promised, we have ticked the box. He promised to go after the kingpins, we have ticked the box. I used the dictionary to find out who a kingpin is. So I understood who a kingpin is. Well, I'm not talking just as a lawyer, I'm a mining engineer.
Okay.
So permit me to blow my horn, please. Now, there is a law called Mining Support Services Regulation, LI 2174. You remember recently there was some noise about the fact that we were saying only Ghanaian companies should do some part of mining. That's Mining Services Regulation. So what you were saying, that for you to be a mining service provider or services provider, the law regulates it, you are right. It is not by virtue that it just exists. Number two, I wish if my brother has really read the judgment, and indeed, if all NPP guys will take time and read the judgment, if they read the judgment very carefully, some of the arguments they are making, they will shield it for a while. Number three, I can't recall the president saying his appointees are involved in Galamsey. He never said that anywhere. So let's put that fact out there. Have you ever seen any MPP guy arrested within this 2025-26 that has not been labeled as a political arrestee? Almost all of them were arrested because of politics. Recently, when Miracles was arrested, we were told that because he made a declaration that he was going to contest. Now, Untumi has been jailed. We are being told that he was jailed. A political prisoner is somebody who is in prison by virtue of his political inclination or his political views. Nowhere in the judgment was his political view articulated, none. Then, but for the fact that others are involved in Galamsey, does that absolve Untumi? No, it does not. And indeed, let me tell my brother, time does not run out on crime. Nowhere. Time does not run out of crime. So if somebody is undertaking crime today in respect of Galamsey, time will catch up with the person. So I don't see that absolving Untumi in any way. And in any case, if you listen to all the noise they are making,
you describe their concerns as noise?
Absolutely noise.
Why would you say that?
As at the time they were doing their press conference, I'm not sure they read the judgment. If you read the judgment carefully, for example, there's a particular part. You were talking about circumstantial evidence. I don't know when you will come to it. Circumstantial evidence, senior is here to tell you that it says that when you consider all the circumstances, there is a mathematical certainty that says that that person is guilty of the offense. Now, let's go to the idea that there's no written document, Can you imagine that if every activity that happens will be by written document, life will be incurably slow? Secondly, you say you gave the place to the person. You don't know who the person is. You say you don't know that the person is a minor. Yet you took the person to Kumasi, facilitated the acquisition of excavators, and paid somehow for the excavators for that person that you are claiming is coming to do reclamation for you. Then for the whole period that the person was supposedly doing reclamation, you've never visited to see if the person was reclaiming. Yet you obtained the lease. And by obtaining the mining lease, you bear all the responsibilities as the owner of the lease, whatever goes in there. Then you stand somewhere now and tell us that, hey, I just allowed him to come in and do reclamation. Reclamation, as the judge admitted, is a very expensive venture. Yet you have not given the person a penny, not even a peswa, to do the reclamation. And the person is saying the reason you didn't give me a peswa is the fact that you want me to mine some parts and use part of the proceeds to reclaim.
But that's his word against, like what the MPP
That was not challenged. That is why I say, go and read the ruling, the judgment.
That actually wasn't challenged.
Wasn't challenged. So if you never challenge something, it is presumed you have admitted it. And if you go and admit something, what are you going to appeal about? For what? That is why I'm saying that take your time, my brother. Take your time. Read the judgment carefully. When you read it carefully, let me also advise, give it to one of the AI tools and say that, throw about the weaknesses in this case for me, or the strength of the defense case for me, and you will see. And it gives me the success of a chance of success, probability of success on appeal, and you will see. So if you go on and admit it, you have not challenged the person's evidence and it's word on word, you can't come here and tell us that it is the duty of the judge. No, you can't say that.
But even before this case got to this point, of course, counsel for Chairman Wontumi had prayed the court to stay proceedings because they had some concerns with the law, and they wanted that to be forwarded to the Supreme Court so they can answer some questions. Now, the Minority Caucus has come back to say that just the fact that, you know, the Accra High Court judge did not even permit for this to be escalated to the Supreme Court, that also amounts to the travesty of justice, because ideally that should have happened.
You see, the Supreme Court, way back, there's a case called Mekanka, my senior will tell you, way back, has stated, even recently in Jechikwesin case, the Supreme Court states that it is not the fact that somebody raises his hand and says there's a constitutional issue, let's go to Supreme Court, then quickly you go to Supreme Court. There should be a situation where you will put a different meaning to certain word or certain clause in a section of the law. So if it comes to say boy, and you say the boy you are seeing here is the one that has, excuse me, to say boobs, and I say no, boy is the one that will not have boobs, then maybe we are giving different meaning to what a boy is. Then we can go. But for the fact that anybody says that there is a constitutional issue, so let's go to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court says, don't come to us with that. And indeed, you see, the role of the High Court judge is to apply, read the act, interpret it, and apply. And the judge is saying that this has not arisen. There is no rival meaning anywhere. In effect, the judge is saying that you are telling us that the law that was made, the lawmaker should have rather added this word, which they didn't add. So for that reason, let's go back to Supreme Court to say that it is too broad, it is too vague. No, they just say it's very clear. There is nothing wrong about the law. You see, now, the idea, you should have, maybe because where you work, you might not have listened to some others. Yesterday in court, by all standards, Atachia said he wasn't going to be there. He sent his junior. Do you know that when the judgment was made and there was mitigation, according to people in the room, that lawyer was so shaken that when he stood up to play his plea on mitigation, the words were not coming. Another lawyer had to assist. That is the enormity of what was ahead of Wontumi. And you see, let's be clear here. When the prosecution finished their case, they went on submission of no case, and that was thrown out at the Court of Appeal. That says that you have something to answer as lawyers. That should tell you that the ingredients and the elements of the offense had sort of been proven. So it is now up to you to go and establish doubt in the ingredients that the prosecution has proven. So that place should tell you that 50% you are almost convicted. So you are now going to work on the other 50% to make sure that I create doubt in the minds of the trial of fact, which is the judge. So all this was going on. And in the end, you came back to say you are withdrawing. Somebody withdrew. Then somebody came up. The day of yesterday was agreed in the presence of Senior Atachia. Then on the eve of the day, you write to the judge. You see, the judges are part of society. They are human beings like yourself and myself. No matter what you take them through, they behave and think like us. And they, as such, they will behave like that. So for the last minute, for you to just pull out. And we listen to the tape right now. He said something that Chairman Wontumi said, if it goes this way. So it means as at the time Chairman Wontumi was entering the courtroom, he had a feeling, or they might have been aware that there's the possibility that it will go this way.
But is that not a normal thing?
It is not a normal thing. It is not a normal thing.
Are you sometimes very convinced that you'd win the case?
Yes, very
It's
convinced.
never a 50-50 situation?
That is why I'm saying that, you see, you would have seen what went on in court. You were in court. You had applied for record of proceedings. You have gone through. You would have subjected them to certain tests to say that reasonable person like myself, if this was said to me, does it look like one that is going to jail, or it looks like we'll be acquitted on this one? Having subjected yourself to all this. And indeed, there was a second lawyer who is Atachia. So he would have seen it with a different eye to say that my colleague did this, that is good. My colleague might not have done this, that is bad.
But he had tried to even extend the judgment date.
That was given for what purpose? For what purpose?
Because he said he had taken over and needed to go through the case completely so he can make a substantial case.
No, that time the case has ended. The only thing he needed to do was written submission. Okay, that was the only thing he needed to do. And the judge has indicated that the written submission largely will not sway where her thinking will go. So what was it for? So in effect, I am advising the MPP guys this morning that go. The ruling, the judgment is all over the place. Pick it. Take your time. go through, read one by one. Even if you are not a lawyer, ask a lawyer's view on it, an unbiased view. You will come to one irresistible conclusion.
Which is what?
The appeal will even fail, worse than what they got in High Court.
You think it will fail? Okay. Well, I'll come to you shortly, Council Nuku. I'll come to you. But also joining us via Zoom this morning is Awula Sewa. She's the coordinator for Eco-Conscious Citizens. It's a CSO that's been very vocal on Galamsey activities in this country. For the longest time, of course, they had been calling for, especially the main people behind Galamsey in this country to be arrested, prosecuted, and jailed. And so, as of yesterday, she didn't indicate that Wuntumi's conviction to her was a step in the right direction. Let's get her thoughts on this further before we come back into the studio. Good morning, Awula Sewa.
Good morning to
Thank
you and
for
your
joining.
viewers. Thank you for having me.
I hope you're doing well.
By God's grace.
Well, I'm sure you've heard the NPP's General Secretary, flanked by some leaders of the party yesterday, indicating that, there was no evidence that was adduced in court yesterday, enough to have Wontumi sentenced to 20 years in jail. And that's the judge most likely, of course, clearly focused more on circumstantial evidence. And for them, that was not enough. And so as it stands now, they describe Wontumi as a political prisoner. You say this conviction was a step in the right direction. How do you juxtapose the two statements from yourself and the NPP?
Well, what I would say is that there was a lot of evidence. I'm struggling to see where the NPP is coming from. The judge is an appeal court judge sitting as a high court judge. Be that as it may, our legal system allows them to appeal.
I'm told that she's not an appeal court judge, by the way, so she's just a high court judge.
Right. I've been mistaken. I stand corrected. Thank you for the correction. Be that as it may, the judge found otherwise. The judge believed there was sufficient evidence to support a conviction. The legal system allows anybody who is dissatisfied to appeal. So they are welcome to appeal to the Court of Appeal. If they are still dissatisfied, they can go right up to the Supreme Court. But for me, the message that it is sending is that if you are involved in illegal mining, if you are destroying our environment and poisoning our water bodies, it doesn't matter how well connected you are, you will eventually be held accountable. And I have to add that we cannot stop with Chairman Wontumi. He cannot be the poster boy for illegal mining. Everybody, rich, powerful, anybody who is involved in illegal mining, whether within the last administration or the current administration, should be held accountable. It should not be selective. And I'm confident that this is just the beginning. And all those who are involved in illegal mining will be arrested if there's sufficient evidence, prosecuted and held accountable. I do not believe that Chairman Wontumi is a political prisoner. I don't think that anybody looking at the evidence, looking at the documentary that I think Erastus Asaredonko produced, would believe that he's a political prisoner. But I think everybody is entitled to their view.
Okay, so Mr. Kenashigbe, for example, thinks that even the 20-year jail sentence that was handed down to him yesterday was not enough, and that he should have gotten the maximum sentence for the evidence that was adduced and for what he is accused of as well. From where you sit, do you think that he's right by saying that, or do you think it's fair? Awula Sewa, are you there? Hello, Awula Sewa.
Hello.
Yes. Did you hear my earlier question?
I think that, yes, we're saying that.
Carry on.
My brother Kenashibi doesn't think. I think that. Hello?
Yes, carry on. We can hear you.
Yeah, I think that the 20 years is sufficient. I mean, even 5 years in our jails is nothing. It's a very difficult thing. So I think that, for me, the conviction was a step in the right direction. The sentence was, I believe, a minimum of 15 years. I believe it's a minimum of 15 years. Whatever it is, I think that the 20 years, for me, is a step in the right direction. I wouldn't want, 20 years is a long time. I think it's a long time. And I think the message has been sent. Those who are currently involved should just stop, because they could get the 25 years. So I think a message has been sent loud and clear that stop destroying our environment, because if you are convicted, you could get 20 years, if not 25 years in jail.
Do you think the NDC is shielding its party members? Because the NPP describes this as a very quick process in ensuring, and the focus has been on Chairman Wontumi and the fact that he needs to be jailed at all costs, when there have been other party members in the NDC who have also been alleged to be involved in Galamsey, and yet the most this government has done is to forward some names to Iyoko, and up till now we still haven't gotten any update on that.
Well, obviously, if it stops with Chairman Wontumi as the poster boy for illegal mining, people would obviously be justified in saying that it's been selective. I believe that Chairman Wontumi was properly and rightly prosecuted, but it should not end with him. There were others named in Professor Frimpong Boateng's report, and even under this current administration, the president himself has admitted that there might be persons even connected with the party who are involved. It's not enough to lament. What needs to happen is that the duty bearers should do their job. The people who have been named within this administration or close to.
Okay. Are you still there? Well, it looks like we're having a challenge with Awula Sewa's network this morning. Awula Sewa, can you hear me? All right.
I think my line is misbehaving. So
yes, wrap up for me.
Everybody should not be left with them. We should not be selective.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. I'm told you have to leave for a meeting, and so we're grateful for your time. But let me come back into the studio, and of course, we still have Counsel Nuku Alija. Yes.
Oh, let me just drop, please.
I'll come back to you. We're not done with this topic. We still have enough time.
Looking for 30 minutes there.
You spoke for 45.
Talk some, Kofi.
So, Counsel Nuku is also here, and I quickly just wanted to go to that issue of circumstantial evidence. Yeah. And that's been one of the main issues that the NPP has raised. The minority in Parliament also raised objections to how the judge used that, to arrive at her final decision. For you in this case, and I'm sure you've read the entire, verdict, do you think that she got it right with the circumstantial evidence part of the statement?
Well, first of all, let me start by saying that circumstantial evidence is obviously one of the ways in which the court can come to a determination on any matter.
Okay.
So it shouldn't be in doubt or question at all, because I've also seen or heard some of the narratives around that and essentially challenging whether she could even use it. That's not the case, because as we know, for most crimes, in fact, they happen on the dark side of most people. We are not there when it happens. The prosecution or the investigators always have to work back to understand what happened at any point in time. Even if they arrest people on the field directly doing something, you still have to do investigation to understand what led to that point, who invested in equipment, all those things. So circumstantial evidence is a tool that the evidence decree allows us to use within the legal fraternity. And essentially what it does is to say that if you take various pieces of evidence, however small, when you put them together, it must lead you to one conclusion only. And that conclusion is A. When you come to that determination, essentially, you can build any other further argument or finding from that point, which is what the judge in this case has done. Now, when you look at the judgment, what she relies on to make that point, and so let me take it a step back.
Okay.
First of all, when there's a company involved in a criminal activity, in law, it is the directors who are responsible. In other words, a company is an artificial person. It is only on paper. It is who controls and directs its activities, which is the directors. And in this case, we know that Akuntan Mining had two directors. Essentially, it's only one of them who was present, available, working, and all of that. So when you go behind, and that's why the judge also lifted the veil in addition, because even without that, there's still corporate culpability for every director because of your company. You can't say that you don't know what's happening on your assets or your concession and all of that. And here what the judge is saying is that if you consider all the factors, it points to that irresistible conclusion that there's nothing that was happening on that concession that was unknown to Chairman Wontumi as an individual. That's on the one hand. On the second leg of it, not known to the company, Akuntan Mining, which, as I've also explained, the individuals behind it are the ones who are culpable when the company is culpable. So it is a two-pronged thing. Either as an individual, because he's a director, he's a shareholder, or as the company representative directing the affairs of that business. And we also could see from the record that there was no other individual who was actively involved in it. So for me, if you wait or you consider it from those dimensions, you see that the judge relied on what was before her.
Okay.
In addition to that, and this is the part that makes it stronger as far as the circumstantial evidence part is concerned. When you file a witness statement, that's your story.
Yeah.
And it will be subjected to cross-examination by the other side, whether from the Republic or from, the lawyers of the accused person. Now, anything that is not basically challenged will stand as, yes, the evidence before the court. Which means that when you're doing cross-examination, you must make sure that you attack every material element in the witness's witness statement, in this case, from the prosecution side. The same thing, obviously, for the Republic, because when Chairman Huntumi or Akuntamani also presented their witnesses, you attack their evidence that is presented through their witness statement by essentially challenging everything that you believe is incontrovertible. Now, the judge says that on key findings, there was admission, essentially. In other words, there was not a challenge to them. They were not subjected to the kind of cross-examination that would take away their probative value. In this case, the judge is saying that because of those admissions, I have only one conclusion that comes out of it, which is the fact that illegal mining activity was taking place by someone who was not authorized to undertake that, because even reclamation is a support service.
Yes.
And a support service requires that if you are in the business as a mining support service person, you also need to be registered with the Minerals Commission, which means that whether it is a sublet, a subcontract, however it is, there's still a registration requirement. And I think Kofi alluded to this point earlier. When you have even established mining companies engaging others to mine on their behalf, if they are support services, they also must be registered. So once you don't have evidence of those things, the irresistible conclusion is that what has happened breaches the act.
Okay.
And that's what the judge is saying. And you also notice this, the charges that were proffered against Chairman Huntumi and Akuntamani are very simple, straightforward. Yes. Which is why, for me, I think the case has been quite quick, because the truth is that more complicated offenses may have required more. This one is more about whether you facilitated, did you indeed transfer, like they are actually very simple. And that, I guess, was the prosecutor's choice. The Attorney General decided that rather than go for more difficult charges, let me go for the ones that are easier for me to prove. And that is a prosecutorial discretion which the Attorney General can make, decide whether this is how I want to go or not. So when you look at it that way, I find it difficult to appreciate any challenge of the judge going that route. But again, the accused persons have every right to go through the appeal process to challenge it. And of course, they can even go to the Supreme Court on another leg as well. But I've seen that from the commentary so far, at least the MPP as a party has indicated that they support the accused person or the convicted persons to go the route of appeal. That's what they have said.
What's likely to happen if there's an appeal?
Well, an appeal will essentially subject the entire judgment to review, depending on the scope of the way they appeal. Because when you're appealing, the law requires you to state what portion of the judgment you have a problem with. You can say the entire judgment. Or you can also just focus on certain key elements that you believe the judge did not read the law properly or apply the law properly.
Okay,
so it's up to them.
For example, and I'm reading the statement from the minority because I brought in the issue of, the earlier counsel for Chairman Huntumi asking the court to stay proceedings so they can also, escalate some of the questions they had with regards to the law and how it supports the charges that were leveled against Chairman Huntumi to the Supreme Court. Now, the judge herself said that, she didn't see the reason to stay proceedings, and so she was going to continue. They say that that alone was enough to even get the judge to halt proceedings and allow the Supreme Court to look at the matter properly.
From a legal point of view, that is not the case. This is what the Supreme Court has said, and this is the standard. When anybody raises a question related to interpretation of the Constitution, by law, it is the Supreme Court that has the power to interpret it. So any allegation, for example, that a provision of an act, like in this case, the Minerals and Mining Act, is contrary to the Constitution, or the breadth of it is beyond what the Constitution allows, and the scope of it, and so on. That question, obviously, is one that the trial court has to determine whether there is indeed a constitutional question or not. And the Supreme Court has said that the fact that somebody says there's a question for interpretation does not mean you should refer it to us. Otherwise, what it will mean is that it doesn't matter the case, whether it's defamation, whether it is a criminal matter, any party can simply say, there's a constitution question here.
I'll let you hold on. Let me read something that they said. So they said, relying on the precedent set in Republic versus the High Court, General Jurisdiction 6, Accra ex parte Dr. Zanetta Rawlings 2016, the caucus insisted that a lower court judge errs by deciding that a statutory provision is clear and unambiguous to avoid referring it, as interpreting the Constitution remains the exclusive purview of the apex court. And so for them, this is what they're using to indicate that then they should have, the judge should have allowed the Supreme Court to look into the questions that were raised with regards to the law.
That is not the position of the law. So, let's take it a step back. All of us sitting on this table today, if we have anything to do with the Constitution of Ghana, we can all take it, read it, and apply it. So every day, the Constitution is being applied. In every day, we are interpreting the Constitution. Every day, we are using it. Let's don't make any mistake about that. When we talk about a question related to interpretation, for example, of a statute, that should go to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court itself has set the test or the standard. It says that there must be a genuine question for interpretation, and that arises under several heads. One of them, for example, is where there's ambiguity in the words, where, for example, there's conflicting interpretation or meaning to the words, where maybe there appears on the face of it to some absurdity or error in the way in which it was drafted, maybe a mistake, for example. And so when you look at that provision on the face of it, there is a problem. That is when a question for interpretation arises. If the judge or any of us take that provision and we read it and it makes sense to us, we apply it as it is. So the judge is not bound to refer every raised question of interpretation to the Supreme Court. Okay. In fact, it is the Supreme Court itself that has made it clear. Otherwise, what will happen, as I said, is that almost every case will end up in the Supreme Court because one party alleges that there's a breach of the Constitution. What the Supreme Court has said is that when you're a trial judge and someone raises a question of interpretation, you consider it as a judge, you look at the provision. If in your view it is clear, there's no ambiguity, there's no question of a conflict in interpretation of meaning and so on, you have, obviously, you are the one seized with the matter, you take a decision. And the decision in this case, the judge is saying, it is clear to me, I'm applying it and I'm moving on. What it means is that the accused persons now have a chance, if they want, to still pursue it further.
Okay.
Otherwise, what it will mean is that every case can be held up by one party saying there's a constitutional question. And the Supreme Court itself does not want that. Otherwise, they'll be inundated with cases. They have set the standard, they've set a test, and they say that if you apply the test and you think there's a genuine question for interpretation, then you refer it. If not, you go ahead and apply it. And the judges in this case is saying that there's nothing ambiguous about the words used.
Okay.
Section 14 is straightforward. It's about facilitating, it's about dealing in and all of that. There's no need for me to refer this to the Supreme Court because I believe that it is actually simple and straightforward. And that's what she did.
Do you agree with counsel?
I'll leave the legal things to the legal people. What I am convinced in my mind, as I've said, is that he has been persecuted. In fact, lawyer has alluded that President Mahama ticked the box. That's what he said. That as far as he is concerned, a box has been ticked. That is all this is about. Let's paint Woon to me as the poster boy. Let's tick the box that we have done something about Galamsey. This is shameful. This is disgraceful. Look, this has proven that indeed President Mahama is pretentious. How? And he's vindictive. Because you see, they have made it clear that all that they want to do, all that they want to paint to Ghanaians is that guy, that loud guy, we have punished him.
That's you conjecturing.
No. I don't have a right to express my view.
You conjecturing.
I'm not conjecturing. A boss has been ticked. He said it here. Has Galamsey, in your opinion, has Galamsey been solved?
It hasn't been solved.
Has it even come close to? Has it even come close to? Exactly, but that's the point. We voted for the president. Look, when we voted for the president, as much as we cared for the president to jail those who are involved, what we cared most about is for Galamsey to stop.
And it's one way of stopping Galamsey, not ensuring that the people who are
are
made to face the full rigors of the law.
You can punish those who are involved. But these are people who told us that within a week, the commander-in-chief of the Ghana Armed Forces can stop Galamsey. These are the people who told us that we can ban all forms of Galamsey, including large-scale mining, not actually Galamsey per se. Okujeto Ablakwa said, let's ban and stop all forms of mining until we end Galamsey. That is what we voted for. But Galamsey is happening. Your DCs are involved. Your appointees are involved. But you are more interested in taking a box.
Kofi.
Look, so this is so unfair. This is so unfair.
Hold on. Yeah. It was flagged by the former lands minister.
Okay.
Samuel Abujinapo. As indicating that they did not have the license to go into the forest to mine. This was as far back as what? 2021, 2022? And then a few months later, we had the president now come out and say, President Akufo-Addo come out and say that.
What has that got to do? What has that got to do with what we are discussing?
No, I'm bringing that
in. What has that got to do with what we are discussing?
Allow me to ask my question.
Okay, ask your question.
Now, I'm bringing that in because you seem to sort of paint a picture that Wontumi has not done anything wrong. But your own minister at the time, when your party was in power, even came out with a statement saying that Wontumi and his Akunta mining did not even have the license to go into the forest to mine, and yet they were doing so. Your party did absolutely nothing about it.
Go into what forest? Go into which forest?
Well, he says the forest. I remember
which
the tunnel.
Forest?
Hold on.
Bella, which forest?
Hold on.
Okay, tell me the forest.
Now, he did indicate, I remember that when the whole tunnel in forest incident happened, he indicated that they did not have a license to even go in there to mine. And yet they still went ahead to do so. And so if you create the picture as if Chairman Wontumi may not be guilty, especially when we've seen and read the entire judgment from the High Court judge, and it's indicating that he did something untoward against the law, which is why he has been prosecuted, then you're not being fair to the issue.
What unfairness have I been? I mean, I'm even lost of words. How have I been unfair? I have enumerated examples to you of a sitting president whose appointees. Look, do you know President Mahama actually promised us, and he warned his appointees that if you are an appointee and you engage in Galamsey, I will deal with you. President Mahama said it.
You haven't responded to my question.
And I am telling you, Bella.
I'll be patient.
The point is that you are saying that a minister says something. Did the minister take Wontumi to court? Did the court establish anything that Wontumi committed an offense? Please. That was
but
a minister.
The president himself came out and said Akunta mining was not involved.
Who
was going to take Bella, it to court when the president cleared him?
The president did not clear anybody. You cannot go to 2021, 2023, when I have just read to you 2026. Why are you not so concerned about the things I've read to you about 2026, about the DCs?
No, but I've asked that question.
Why are you not so concerned about it?
It's not about not being concerned. My question to you is, yes, it is right that the NDC also prosecutes its members if they are found guilty. But at the same time, don't tend to poo-poo what's going on with Chairman Wontumi in the sense that even your own minister came out and said he didn't have a license to go into the forest, and yet he was doing that.
If my minister or any minister felt somebody did anything wrong, they could have gone to court. That's a different matter. The point that I'm raising to you today is that a president promised us to end Galamsey. Number one, Galamsey has not ended. It has gotten worse. In fact, his people are deeply involved. And I am saying that those people who are deeply involved, we don't have any evidence of any of them standing trial. Yet, one person who is a poster boy, he has been used to take a box. Are you saying that I have no right to think that someone is being persecuted? Is that what you are telling me? If a judge relied on circumstantial evidence, I can't rely on circumstantial evidence. I am also relying on circumstantial evidence. What is happening in Ghana, that I can see that President Mahama is persecuting people he doesn't like. That's my circumstantial evidence. Why would anybody begrudge me? It is obvious. Because at least, let a DCE be arrested. Let an appointee be arrested. Let people face, if in this instance, NDC people were equally facing trial, and then I can say, okay, then this is Wuntumi's time. But nobody, Sremsa is not interested. Nobody. And I'm not supposed to be worried. So I don't have eyes to see.
So if they were in court at the moment and we saw what has transpired with Wontumi, then you wouldn't have raised any objections?
Of course, we have raised the issues that somebody is being persecuted. And we have look, even if there were people in court, it doesn't stop us from saying that we disagree with aspects of a ruling. That one can be concurrent at the same time. We have said that we disagree respectfully with aspects of a ruling. And we have not denigrated the judge, just like they did. They denigrated judges. We have not. We have said that, fine, this is your ruling, we disagree. But we feel that the state has taken interest in certain individuals. Decouple the issue. We are talking about the state's interest in going after specific people and making sure those people go through the process as quickly as possible so they can take a box. And the same state has turned a blind eye on people within that state. And it's not just Galamsey. We were here just last week or so. Interior Minister told us that people within the government participated in $300 million worth of methamphetamine leaving the country. What has been done?
You're bringing in.
No, I am giving you.
You're bringing in something.
No, you are not getting my point. I am
You're
giving
bringing
you
in something completely different from what we're discussing.
It's different, but the point is, it talks about the inertia of the state. It talks about the deliberate decision of the state not to focus on actions of persons within the government and what they are doing.
But
we are
allow
talking
the case to travel, you know,
travel
its
to
course.
where?
But if you bring that in,
The case has traveled to Australia. Ghana is being embarrassed in Australia. What travel are you talking about?
Chairman Wontumi was sitting in his living room one morning, and they just randomly barged in and picked him up.
Look, they've done worse to Chairman Wontumi.
Hold on.
They've done worse. They've done worse to Chairman Wontumi.
That took place in the Summer Boy Forest, where a young man and about, we're told, 28 people were picked up. Now, when they went there, the structure in which they were patching, it had Akunta Mining written on top of it. Now, this young man says he was contracted by another man, Henry Okum, to go and supervise the work. They asked Henry Okum, and he says he got access to the concession through Wontumi and Akunta Mining. That's how Wontumi came into the picture. So there's some evidence, at least, that people were being arrested, and there was a need to go to court for that. Don't you think that in this case, where names have been mentioned, of course, some evidence needs to be adduced as well, so that a case can be started?
Bella, thank you for the movie story.
How is this a movie story?
Thank you very much for the movie story. No, thank you very much for the movie story. Please.
So are you then disrespecting the judge because she's the one?
I'm not disrespecting the judge. I am talking about your movie story.
No, I am repeating what the judge said.
Does it not surprise you that one Wontumi?
No.
All his radio stations have been shut down.
No.
That one Wontumi, he has 3 cases going after him. Does that not surprise you? That
So
one human
I'm not
being.
giving you any movie story.
It's a movie story. It's a beautiful movie story. Nothing else. It's a beautiful story.
So the
No, I'm not
judge
talking about the judge. I'm talking about you.
No.
I'm talking about you, Bella. I'm talking about you. You are the one narrating the story.
But I've just given you.
Look, you are talking.
I'm paraphrasing what the judge said.
Bella, please.
So instead of coming at me, why don't you address what the judge said?
I just said you have a beautiful movie story.
No, but address it because I'm repeating what the judge has said.
Bella, you won't change my mind, though.
No, I don't intend to change your mind, but I also don't want you to sit on this platform and make it look like I'm the one conjuring stories.
No, you haven't conjured. I'm just saying that you narrated a story. Oh,
this
Bella,
movie you are
Bella.
referencing,
Bella,
it's from the judge.
Bella, we have only 20 minutes.
No, hold on, I'll come to you.
See, does it not surprise you that Chairman Wontumi, one individual, has about 5 or so cases or 3 cases going at the same time? Does it not surprise you? One person, Sremsa, is going after him on all fronts. Your friend. Your friend. Oh yeah, because he's the one behind it. Your friend is going after him on all fronts.
That is his work. He's the
His work.
Attorney
Oh,
General.
his work. Yes, of course, his work. His work. But the DCs are also his work. The NDC appointees are also his work. But you are going after one person of over 3 cases. I mean, look, do you know even his radio stations, they've shut all of them down. You think I shouldn't believe that this is beyond a single case? That this is an orchestration that will punish this guy? That this is hatred for a person? Look, nobody can change the fact that President Mahama pretends. You know, in Chi, we say something. Okay, he has 0. He pretends. He's vindictive. This whole thing is to punish Wontumi.
Okay.
And it's sad. But look, it's the same thing they are going to do with this tribunal thing that they are coming up with. But we'll talk about it another time.
I was going to say, you're bringing something. Let me bring
but it is
Council
deliberate.
in, because now...
But you, my brother.
Yes.
Are you an appointee?
Of who?
Of this government?
You should know if
Okay, don't worry.
Yeah.
If you get an appointment, be careful.
Why? What will happen?
No, I'm just saying.
Is it a threat?
I'm just because the precedents you are setting,
The table
face
to
it.
10, isn't it?
You face the reward and you face it even stronger.
Oh.
The danger you are setting in this country. I mean, look at this case.
Okay, Kofi, let's council come
when
in.
the table's 10, let's carry the table before the 10. So when the table's 10, let me do a quick rebuttal. Yes, President Mahama promised to go after the kingpins. Let me repeat. And he's done one. So he said he voted for President Mahama.
I didn't say that.
Oh,
I said we voted. That is, Ghanaians voted.
You said you were nice.
Bella.
So that's why I asked you, because I was quite surprised.
Look, you are a lawyer.
Okay, you didn't vote for him, we understand.
Do another
Let council
circumstantial
come in.
evidence.
Okay,
Do another circumstantial evidence. Bella, if you say Ghanaians voted for President Mahama, what do you not know what I mean?
Council, they said use circumstantial evidence in this case to decide.
One of the things President Mahama promised is that the small boys are not the problem, the kingpins are the problem. So he took it. You see, he also talked about the fact that DCs are involved. I'm challenging you, my brother. Go and report.
I don't have to report.
Go and report. No.
Erastus has announced. I don't have to do anything.
An announcement does not make by being somewhere and making an announcement. It's not a report. Go and report, because at the end of the day, there has to be a complainant. You cannot go and say Facebook was a complainant. Go and report. That is my challenge to him this morning.
If I may ask, is that what happened with the Chairman Wontumi issue?
I'm coming to Chairman Wontumi. I'm coming to Chairman Wontumi.
Based on a story done by Erastus Asari that led to the raid?
I'm coming to Chairman Wontumi's story. There was petition from the civil societies group, Kenashigbe, Martin Kpebu. All of them were petitioning. Mm-hmm. Now, if you want to talk about Chairman Wontumi, you started nicely by saying he wasn't in his room when he was just picked. Chairman Wontumi was somebody who the issue was raised by.
It's a movie, a nice blockbuster.
Yes, no, don't worry. The issue was raised when by the former Minister for Lands, Jinapo, and you raised it here. We have the letters all circulating. When indeed that same thing was put up to President Akufo-Addo, President Akufo-Addo said, as at the time we were talking, they were not mining. And Abu Jinapo retracted and came back to say that the president is saying the very moment he was talking. Come on, how? And that question was put by Kenashigbe at Catholic Bishops' conference in Koforia. How? How could you look at us in the face and do that? Now, you see, Kofi is here today. I wish he had such energy 4 years, 5 years, 3 years ago. The NPP party is an enabler of Galamsey. They enable Galamsey, and I've given you two. One, in any civilized and very serious party, a person standing trial, as you said, in 3 or 4 cases, including such high-profile cases, wouldn't have thought of contesting for national chairman. Never. It shouldn't have happened. Never. And he's saying that, are we not surprised that Wontumi is being prosecuted for 2 or 3 or 4 cases? You know why? You know why? He was the unruly horse in the movie. He was going everywhere without chains.
He has confirmed.
Okay? He was the one that, this morning, I watched videos from even their platform when people were complaining of some of the things internally that he did. Internally. So he was the one that was allowed everywhere. Go back to the ruling, the judgment again. Nothing convicts a man
Senior, tell me if I'm wrong. Nothing convinces a man faster than his own words on admission. And if you say, he said, I wish to take clearly and unambiguously that I granted them permission to enter the forest and work. He said so. And you are here saying it was a persecution. I am again entreating that. I'll give my copy to him. I've highlighted certain portions that he should go through and come to it. He also tells us here, one way, when it suits him, he said it's a bird. When it doesn't suit him, he said it's a vulture. Now, when you were trying to bring him back, he said, no, let's not stay here. Now he went on to bring Australia back to something else. I can't even remember. You know it. Untumi's radio stations are not the first to have ever been shut in Ghana. My brother. That's it. Don't answer me. I'm not asking you to answer. My brother, you were not in Ghana.
Four stations all shut down together.
You were not in Ghana when the radio stations were all shut down. In any case, you see, that's why I thank God for President Mahama. If he were as vindictive as others were before him, some of them wouldn't have been able to be here. But back to the issue, the substance in contention. I am saying go and read the ruling. You see, there's one thing that we are losing sight of, the legal personality. Now, it looks like the other entry who was charged with Untumi never appeared to have had anything to do with the company. It looks like he is not aware where the company is even operating, etc. When you read the ruling, it looks like the company was by Isel Chairman Untumi. And that is why the judge said, let's pierce the veil. And you see, someone will still somewhere and say the company is independent of Untumi. Companies don't have legs. Companies don't have hands. Somebody has to operate the company. And that was why they pierced the veil to see who is behind the company and using and operating this way. Then, of course, there was a situation where the judge also says that, you see, let's pay attention. Maybe the ruling actually is 40 years old.
Yes, but to run concurrently.
But to run concurrently, that's why it's 20 years. The ruling is actually 40 years, but to run concurrently, that's why 20 year, and they are running. Then there are fines. If those fines are not paid, they also come with their
I think in total 6 years, because it's 3 years each.
Good. So why do you think a judge will go and do this? We are here. You are telling us that we promised to end Galamsey. We are trying to end Galamsey and Choboy from your end again. When would they be nationalistic for once to say that the right thing is being done? Let's support
but his Choboy is also coming on the back of the fact that there have been people who have been fingered in the NDC. And I remember that Professor Frimpong Boateng's report. There was a line that said that there are even more NDC people who are engaged in Galamsey than the NPP. I remember that report very well because we touched on it extensively on this platform.
Yes, there was also another women organizer who was fingered.
Yes.
Yes, be careful. Okay, you should use it.
So what I'm saying is, do they also have a case when they say?
I've answered that, Bella, earlier on, that time does not run out on crime. So if the investigations are ongoing, the day they complete the investigations, they are going to arraign them. If they need to be arraigned, they will be arraigned before court. But
does it take that long to investigate some of these issues? Because
do you know how long it took the
Iyoko?
Do you know? You see,
they were referred to Iyoko in 2025, July. Yes, so exactly a year and a few days since then.
Yes.
And that's why they are saying that they've not had any updates. At least update Ghanaians on what has been done so far with regards to the investigation, like you've done with the other issues. Because we've seen the Attorney General come and address the media, detailing how some MPP appointees misappropriated funds, did A, B, C, and D. But we've not seen the same with these people who have been now forwarded to Iyoko to be investigated.
I think that if there is an update will be given. But I'm surprised that you are now calling for update, because the very people asking the Attorney General to stop the updates are today asking for the updates. So you're
referencing the MPP,
yes,
you are calling for updates.
The very people asking the Attorney General, stop the updates.
No, we have not said that.
Okay. Oh.
What we have said, he shouldn't do public trial.
Okay. So this is good for the movie. Or maybe this is good for the book. We'll add it.
Part 2.
But yes, we'll add it part 2. But you see, let us not trivialize what is happening. You heard what Awula said, and you might have heard what Kenashigbe and others are saying. It is not about just Wontumi. It is about sending the message down there that this thing is affecting all of us. Let us take steps and stop it. And I believe that in the pits today, people will be wondering, or those who are thinking about going will be wondering, am I also looking at or staring at 20 years? Some will be thinking about it today to say that if that is the situation, let us have a change of heart. So I want to appeal to them. When you finish reading the judgment by the court that was pronounced yesterday, in the end, you will come to one conclusion, that it was a very well-reasoned, well-thought, and well-written judgment. It is not about, he talks about the fact that Wontumi was not directly involved in mining. You know, the makers of the law envisaged this. Envisaged it, and indeed, let's put this on record. The maximum then of the law was about 3 or 4 years. But the MPP went to Parliament and asked that it should be, even when Gloria Akufo was in Parliament, she asked for 10 years. And Chairman Sabusu and the other asked for 25. And it was given to 25. So it is not a situation where NDC woke up one morning to say that let's do it this way. So the lawmakers envisage that a time will come, somebody will pay some people to do galamsey, or somebody will have the lease and say that, for me, let me just give it to some people to do it, and they will do, because I don't have the means or I don't want my face to be shown. That is why they put all this in. So the position of the law is to cure a mischief. The lawmakers realize that this will happen. That is why they put it in there. So the idea that somebody comes here, holds gun to all of us, and the person is allowed to walk away by the one who sent them to, there are two different scenarios. The law has specifically created an offense for who does what and who doesn't do anything. So we cannot combine the two.
All right. Councillor Nuku, let me bring you in, because if you also look across the board on social media, yesterday, yes, I mean, there are certain people who thought that decision by the judge was fair. But now they started questioning whether that 20-year jail sentence would actually be, spent by Chairman Wontumi in prison, because we've seen incidences where people have been handed some, 15 years, and then after a few months, we're told that, there was an appeal and it was reduced to 1 year, etc. So they don't even trust the legal system enough to believe that if someone has gone against the law, fallen foul of the law, they would face the full rigors of the law. What do you say to that?
Well, the law provides both substantive and procedural, if I should say, rights to accused persons or anybody who is before the court. So the truth is that the law protects all of us when we are, at one point or the other before court for an issue. So you have a right to appeal in this case, as of right to the Court of Appeal, because the matter starts in the High Court. So just as, for example, with, let's say, the Agrada case, you can always go to the appellate court and make your case again. As I mentioned earlier, the fact that you can essentially ask the court to review the entire judgment. And in that process, that appellate court, for example, can come to the determination that maybe the conviction was wrong, which means that you'll be set free immediately. Or it may even agree that the conviction is correct, however, maybe the sentence, all things considered. That's why you can still be found guilty, however, the sentence will be reduced. But I think Councillor Jimega has also made this point that the amendment that was done in 2019 is what increased. Before, if you breach 14 or 99 to, it was 3 years. It was 3 years.
With penalty units of 10,000 or so.
Yes. Was it 10,000?
It was. Let me look at it. Yeah.
So essentially, what it meant was that even if you're convicted for facilitating or any of these,
it was actually
charges,
1,000 penalty units, 3 year imprisonment if you operate without a license.
Good. So 1,000 penalty units at a unit rate of 12 cities, that would have been much smaller. So here's a case that because of the amendment, the punishment now for facilitating is also severe, which is 15 to 25 years. So the maximum is 25 years. So what the judge has done is to, if I should say, pick the middle. Instead of 15 being the minimum, 25 being, the judge says 20. All things considered. And we also know that a number of lawyers, including Redu, made pleas for mitigation because the law allows that to happen. When the conviction is done, the counsel for the accused person can make a plea for mitigation. And we know that there were other friends of the court who also made a plea for mitigation. That, look, if you are convicting this person, still consider everything and give them a lesser sentence. So in this case, the judge didn't go for the maximum. And I want to believe that perhaps those pleas for mitigation may have, informed her decision. But that's the thing. So you talk about social media and the comments that are coming up. she has made a discretionary decision, taking all factors, which she knows as a judge, having heard all the evidence and all of that. We can read from, the judgment, portions of what she highlighted, but for the full record, she has it. The lawyers also have it. So I would say it's balanced in that case. But this is where I also want to push in a bit more. When we say that, for example, Chairman Wontumi is a political prisoner, I think that also imputes on the judge. And I think that we should be more careful about that because you see, the state institutions should be allowed. You let me land. You let me land. You see, let me land. You see, if you have an issue, for example, with the prosecution, the process, that's one thing. Politicians can always have arguments about why did you go for this person and not that person and so on. But as far as the judge is concerned, being the arbiter, neutral arbiter who is considering the facts, the judge has to make a determination based on what the prosecution presented, submission of no case, all of that, till the end. When the judge has given the judgment, it is the professional duty of the judge to do so. Which means that the conviction, as far as the judge is concerned, is consistent with what was presented by way of evidence and so on. So when you say that he's a political prisoner, as if the judge is part of that political process. Let's take a step back away from that. As for the persecutions or whether there are other people who should be prosecuted and so on, I'm sure we'll know soon enough because you recall even when, for instance, the oral report was presented when President Mahama took office. I'm sure people expected that within 1 month there will be about 50 cases, but it doesn't work that way because when you are going to court, especially in a criminal matter, the standard is that you must prove it beyond reasonable doubt. It's not easy to just take the oral report and start prosecuting people. You really need to delve deeper. And in law, we are looking at specific offenses, the elements of the offenses, and whether you can prove each of the elements. If you can't do that, you are just going to waste state resources prosecuting people where you can't get a conviction. So even now, I've seen that also people are complaining about the number of cases. We thought by now there will be 100 oral cases and so on, which is because you can't just prosecute people on a whim. You need concrete evidence. And in this case, it's a facilitation. But you
so you
realistically,
can't fault Ghanaians for trying to realize that expectation. That was the expectation they set.
Which is why I'm saying that the oral
report... And the judge thing that you are talking about, the president himself politicized actions of the judges.
Sure, but the oral report was not... It's not a... I would say it's not even a legal document.
Of course, it's
not a legal document. When the Attorney General takes that document, before they can prosecute somebody, they really need to make sure that they can identify specific offenses, the elements of them, and they can prove them. If they can't prove them, it means they'll be wasting money to state resources to actually proceed with the prosecution. So we should be expect prosecutions.
Cautious.
Sophie, let him land.
No, but we are having a discussion. This one, let's have discussion.
Otherwise, then I'll have to wrap up. I don't want to do that.
So we can't expect that people will just be prosecuted like that. There must be basis for it. And I think that it takes time to do some of those things. And in fact, for accused persons, it will be the easiest thing for your client to be prosecuted on a charge that you can easily deal with, as you can see from the cross-examination and so on. So for me, if there's something wrong with the judge's judgment, as far as the law is concerned, Chairman Wontumi Akuntama, they have every right to go through the process. But let us not bring the institutions into disrepute because these are the same institutions that were there for us when we were doing a presidential petition, whether it was 2013 or it was 2017, all of that is the same process. These are the institutions of state that will determine cases when they do come up, whether political or otherwise.
Kofi doesn't agree. My time is up, but I'll just give everyone a minute to just quickly.
Long should save us the theology classes. Because you were here in this country and you saw the things people did. A whole Chief Justice was run down as if she's nobody. So what are you saying, Long?
Run down where?
Run down. You didn't know what they did to Tokonu. You didn't know what the NDC did to Tokonu. Come on.
What did they do? The removal.
Was it okay for a whole Chief Justice to be called Osunomame? That she was the women's organizer?
I don't know about that.
Of course.
I don't know.
Well, how can you not know about it?
No. I don't know about
that. But the point I'm making is very simple.
30 seconds.
Very, very simple. It is clear that they are not going to stop. It is clear that the plan is to go after MPP people. But Ghanaians, if you voted for President Mahama to solve Galamsey, trust me, he's not going to do it. He has failed. the minister has failed. The Minister of Lands and Natural, he's a complete failure. You know, in his constituency, Galamsey is going on there. Elembele. So the people who claim that they are going to fight Galamsey, they are not going to do anything. No. Okay. And to my party people, let's unite, let's work hard, let's present a powerful case to Ghanaians so we can have the opportunity to govern again and show these people that what they are doing is wrong. That is not how justice must be served in a republic.
Okay. When you say show these people, I thought you were also issuing another threat.
No.
Because
I'm not
issuing earlier.
No.
Okay. Councillor Chimaga, I'll let you also come in for a minute and then we'll wrap up.
You see, the biggest social intervention that NDC has brought to Ghanaians is the 2024 defeat of Nana Akufo-Addo and Bawumia government. It's the biggest social intervention that we have brought. And I believe that the promise, you see, we brought our manifesto, we campaigned on it. Ghanaians overwhelmingly voted for us. So we want to behave and do things according to what Ghanaians have asked us to do. Okay. And you know, as we do it, let me quickly end by saying, let me wish one or two people birthdays today.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yes, my uncle, Mr. Stephen Jubi Tata, happy birthday today. And you know, the MCE for Ga West, Desmond Soa, he's doing well.
Okay.
Same as the 2IC, Tema Regional Crime, Mr. Emmanuel Winsori. Finally, my good friend, Dr. Harvey Felix. Good morning to you, and thank you. I wish I'll meet Kofi always on a set like this, okay. And maybe later we think about Mother Ghana properly.
All right. Councillor, do you also want to say something quickly before we wrap up?
Just to say that, I mean, this Galamsey issue is obviously one of the biggest threats to Ghana. I'm thinking in terms of the long-term implications for our health, you know, the implications in terms of food security and all of that. And so, for me, we really have to be of one accord as a nation fighting this menace. Yeah. All
right. Let's be one and fight this menace, and we hope that the MPP and the NDC can come together.
How can we
to fight this canker? But Idrisu Salim says that, good morning, Bella and your panelists. The judge's decision was rushed. Since Wuntumi's lawyer is seeking interpretation on a particular law, what happens to Yamin Abanga, the DC's party chairman, seen in a viral video insulting a military person? What about the recent video of a mining activity ongoing behind the premises of an Agenda 111 hospital? And the DC was interviewed and he seemed helpless. So the NDC should give us a break. Kofi Tonto, let them know. I'm Salim from WA. Okay, Salim, thank you for your message. Mani Nimani says, when she was paneling judges in an hour, why won't she be called that? I don't think that you also justify the name that was given to her. Ghana shall rise again. Those who don't support for the good development of this country shall be in opposition for a long time. The table is being held by a majority of Ghanaians who are watching keenly. Neo Digni Atukwe Kwe. And Yao February says, Chairman Wutumi is in jail because the judge relied on mere speculation accounted by the prosecution witnesses, but the evidence that permitted the prosecution to mine illegally on the mineral rights of Chairman Wutumi. Okay. Well, a few more messages. I'm even being counted down. I have to go, but let me just read the last one. Kofi. Okay, never mind.
Oh, that's okay.
I'll leave that. Let me just go on WhatsApp quickly before I wrap up. Okay, good morning to Dr. Notedu. I always look forward to your messages on the show. He says that let Kofi read social media and check what Ghana is saying. When Dami was on a roll, it wasn't fair. It wasn't unfair. We're all Ghanaians and under law and under God. Didn't you hear what Wontumi called others Kofi? All right. And justice cannot be the rule of law when it affects your opponents and political persecution when it affects your own. Consistency matters. That's Deep Cool Ishmael. Old traffic lights. All right, I'll wrap up at this point, but thank you, gentlemen, for joining us on the show. Let me quickly let you know that the big issue is sponsored by the University of Gold Coast, and whether you are aiming for a specialist MBA in marketing, communication, operations, supply chain, human resource management, finance, entrepreneurship, innovation, or business intelligence analytics, or you just want to advance to a dual MBA or chartered manager MBA, University of Gold Coast gives you options that match your vision. And if your next step is an MSc International Relations, Communications, International Marketing, International Law, Security Diplomacy, Accounting, Finance or Human Resource Management, an LLM in International Law, Security Diplomacy, or MA in Biblical Studies and Practical Theology, then the pathway is open. Apply today. And regardless of your schedule, they'll help you to manage your studies, and you get to study around your work and life. And also, based on payments, they give you flexible payments as well. So if you're interested, please apply now, www.ugc.edu.gh. Call or WhatsApp 026-388-8555. This morning, I've been speaking to Kofi Tonto. He's a member of the MPP communications team. Thank you for coming. And also, Lom Nuku Akhlija. Okay, he is a lawyer. It'll take me a while, but I hope eventually I get used to it. Law lecturer at GIMPA. And yes, we've been taking through some lessons this morning. And Theophilus Jimega is a private legal practitioner, also a member of the NDC communications team. Thank you all so much for joining us. And the show continues. We have sports coming your way and more. This is TV3 Newday. Don't go anywhere.